And I think we are going free. How's everybody doing today? Good Sunday evening, Monday morning to all of you. This, I guess, might be the future of resistance to the anti-white establishment. This is a personalized mask made by our very own Fraulein Dresden. And I wanted to show it off right here at the beginning of the show. Thank you very much, dear lady. She sent this one and another one in this wonderful little packet here. And thank you so much for this. And I will be able to wear these and stay coronavirus free, or at least I hope to. It will help me in some way, shape, or form, I'm sure. Let me get this set up over here on the side. How are we all doing today? Is everybody well? I also have, I don't know if you have noticed yet, but I also have this, and we'll talk about this in a moment. I'll get it up a little closer. This beautiful glass artwork that was gifted me by a member of the community serving White Wellbeing, and we'll read a little note about that in a minute as well. So many talented people in service to White Wellbeing. Welcome to the AP class in the White Positive Sphere. This is where you come when you are ready for advanced placement and you are ready to do and go places that others in the White Positive Sphere are not yet ready to do. They're occupied with a lot of other things. God bless them for that. And you are ready to make a change, a difference in this world. I had a conversation just yesterday about the fact that why aren't we, being the White Positive Sphere, why aren't we making more out of this situation with coronavirus? And well, the reason is very simple. Too many people are worried about doing things other than going free. And if we were all going free, then there would be no problem with making much more out of this, bringing many more people to the service of White Wellbeing than there are today. So let me see what we have here. Who do we have here in the chat? There's Ray is here. Seaver is here. Great to see the both of you. Shauna is here. Popcorn Power. Jean. Full Moon Ancestry. Hello to you. The Great Underhill is here. Great to see you. Is Entropy up and running? It should be. Brand Danger. Great to see you. 41 BMC says cool mask. Thank you so much. We can thank our very own Fraulein Dresden. And I imagine she'll show up today. Radis is here. Johnny Scythe is here. Great. Good to see you. Shauna says, I want a mask with a message. Well, you know what? Depending on how long this goes, we might end up with no white guilt masks. Who knows? But might end up being something that we end up having to wear or wanting to wear so that we stay healthy while everybody else ends up coming down with not only coronavirus or this SARS-CoV-2, but of the many proliferating viruses that are out there. You don't take all of the peoples of the world and bring them all together into this giant witch's cauldron, open up every sewer on planet Earth, and then not have a medley, motley, just poison for the population to imbibe and to catch off of each other. Part of the reason why humanity segregated was because of disease. And of course, now all of that's being done away with. The anti-white elites, they can hide behind their big walls and stay safe, but we cannot. So who knows what the face of White Wellbeing will be in the future, what that will look like. Lapis is here. Great to see you. All right. Well, we got a number of things to talk about today, not the least of which is the conspiratorial mind and how it fails. And the reason why I wanted to address that today is because it is important for us who are going free to know what that sensation is that we experience when we think, some pieces have been put together and now we know exactly what's going on in the world. And then these people, as you can see them out there in the rest of the White Positive Sphere and groups on the fringe of that, on the periphery of that, how they become unhinged in their beliefs. It absolutely is. And I know you all have met people like this, where it's absolutely some crazy notion about what's going on. And then you talk to them again 6 months later, and then, oh no, it's not that anymore. Come on, it's not that. It's this absolute other thing now that's totally crazy. And if you don't believe that, what are you, some kind of jerk? Are you some kind of agent who are in on it somehow? We all know these people. And we want to cull them from our ranks. And if you are maybe on on the limb one way or another, we want to redeem you, to bring you back to reality so that you can move forward for white well-being. We have to stay level-headed in all scenarios, but certainly in scenarios like this is where it's truly demonstrated how real leadership, demonstrated how mature one is, and it's made evident by how one behaves to the in response to the things that are going on. So I want to say a big thank you again to Fraulein Dresden. As I say, she said, you need a mask. And I said, absolutely, I need a mask. Who knows how long this is going to go? And so she made, it's expertly made. And as I say, there's another one over there, looks a little different. And she also sent this lovely Easter card. And just look how lovely that is. And she has here, I'm going to read just a bit from this. She says, Dearest Jason, legends say that hummingbirds float free of time, carrying our hopes for love, joy, and celebration. The hummingbird's delicate grace reminds us that life is rich, beauty is everywhere, every personal connection has meaning, and that laughter is life's sweetest creation. Inside, you'll find one surgeon mask and one Volk mask. Each one has a PM 2.5 filter. I've also provided 2 extra filters. Both have been washed in hot water, and I have added a sprig of rosemary for scent. Be well, yours. And of course, this is Fraulein Dresden. So a big round of applause for Fraulein Dresden for helping to keep me healthy in the midst of the pandemic, in the midst of the plague. Now, let me show you all this. This is from another member of the community, immensely talented. And he has made several various types, and I will show them maybe each going free episode until I've shown them all. But let me show you this. This is just, can you see that okay? This is, I don't know what properly, I guess, glasswork you would call this, but it is really magnificent. It says NWG, no white guilt there. And it is, I truly treasure this. He does not want to be named. And that's absolutely okay. We will not name him, but a big round of applause to him for that. And he had a little note here as well. And he writes here, thank you for all your hard work and helping me go free. God bless the Westman and stay well. Thank you very much, dear sir and good brother, and big round of applause for that gentleman as well. So let's see, who do we have over here on gardening? I see the great Roy Danton is here. BB is here. Nancy Drew is here. Susie Penguin is here. Great to see you. Rum is here. Great to see you as well. As Tipsy McStagger. Wonderful. Hello to you. We have a fine audience as always. Carlisle is here. Wonderful lady. How are you? This is, as I say, this Donning Armor. Is that Goyle is here. As I say, this is the AP class because we are actually doing things. And we're going to be doing things today. We're going to continue doing things. We're going to talk about people doing things like this. I mean, these sorts of things, providing me with a mask so that I can continue in my service to white well-being. And these sorts of, if you're going to, you might end up asking, are we ever going to be able to buy some of these? Well, maybe so. It would be a wonderful thing to be able to wear something that artistic and beautiful. And it would definitely a conversation starter, each piece, one of a kind. And so conversation starter, you could say to your friends, let me tell you what this is all about. No white guilt. But let's see. That'd be cool, though, to have some no white guilt masks that could look, the totality of the mask could be made to look really cool as well. And then have that sort of verbiage across the front of it. But let's see, what do we have here? Now, if you want to financially gift over the course of the stream, you can do so in two places now. You can do so on Entropy, and you can do so on Cash App still. I did hear that Henrik lost his Cash App account over at Red Ice, and it appears that ours is still working for now. So we will see how long that lasts. But you can go to both of those places to financially gift. Any questions or comments that are accompanied by a financial gift, of course, get preference. It looks like Zero Talent has already jumped in with a $5 financial gift. Thank you, dear friend, and writing, "Let's go free." Absolutely. Thank you so much. What a great way to start our time together, which I surmise will be around an hour and a half to 2 hours. We're not going to be doing those 6-hour streams anymore. But it's so lovely outside here, outside of Washington, D.C., the nation's capital in the United States. We are in Virginia, and I have the window open. There's a beautiful dogwood, pink and white dogwoods out there, Virginia pines and the cryptomeria and a bunch of others, birds flying by. I had to have it open so that we could enjoy it all together. And if you have any questions or comments otherwise that you want to add, you can add those to either of the live streams that are up right now. You can also add them to Entropy, as you know, and I will rely on my magnificent moderators and all of you to help tell those who are new to our channel and to the work that we are doing going free, to help them out as to where they can, if they have questions, as to where they can ask questions over the course of the stream or make comments, and how to tag me. Looks like I saw Southern Bloom. I saw Ron is here. Ursa Major. Promethean Promulgation is here. Iron Will. Eternalism. Great to see you all. Nordic Nightmare. There are a lot of new folks showing up. They're writing me. They're coming from other places, sometimes in the white positive sphere, sometimes from outside, totally outside of the white positive sphere. White Rider is here. Great to see you. All right. So let's get some of the housekeeping out of the way really quickly. Big announcement here from Laura wanted me to share this with you all. And this is not Laura Towler. This is our Laura here. She was moderating for a while. Andre's here. Great to see you, brother. And of course, she is the machinery behind, she is the love and machinery behind the Nat Connect movement. And they are approaching their anniversary is coming up. I don't believe it's passed yet. So a big congratulations and thank you to Laura and Way of the World for Nat Connect. And that project is still running strong and hard. So if anybody is still looking for someone to be a pen pal in the white positive sphere, you can reach out to the Nat Connect program or project. And hopefully the mods will maybe be able to provide you all with the link for that over the course, at some point over the course of the show. I would deeply appreciate that. So big anniversary for them coming up. Thank you very much, especially Laura, for you, the night and day work that you have to do to pair people up. And remember, folks, whether it is on Nat Connect or whether it is with Liv over on whitedate.net, wherever it is, you are the one who has to do your due diligence. These people are not going to be able to research every single person out there that signs up for these programs, that sends a message. So it comes down to you. Just because someone is saying, oh, I completely agree with everything you're saying, the world of this is terrible or whatever, just because they say these things doesn't mean that they're one of us. It is up to you to determine, after lengthy conversations, I would, at least that's how I would do it, investigating how genuine they are before sharing any information. Do not say, well, they agree with me and they came in by way of Nat Connect or they came in by whitedate.net, and so ergo, they must be legitimate. No, we know the anti-whites are out to get us, and they are always out to get us. So remember, the due diligence falls upon you. I want to show this. This is a magnificent, I'm not going to give away the lady's name, but we are definitely going to give her a big round of applause. I'm not going to be showing everything that she has shared, or all of the photographs that she sent, or at least this, not this show. But this again, this is what we do. We make change here, and that we can be very proud of. Very proud of. And I want you all, I don't have to do it. I'm not going to do it today. But I want, if you hear that, by the way, that is a Carolina wren singing right outside the window. But I want you all to juxtapose what we are doing here with what you see elsewhere. I'm not going to be doing it today. This lovely woman writes, Dear NWG, imagine my surprise at seeing no white guilt flyers at my local library. The word is really getting out. Upon entering our local library, a rebuild of one of the classically beautiful Carnegie libraries, which are an enduring legacy of the vision and generosity of a white man, one is greeted with a white gilt, black built Grant County try-hard display. That is, one is greeted with a white gilt, blacks built Grant County try-hard display. The first black settlement in the Marion, Grant County area was actually established by white abolitionists, the anti-white rabble-rousers of their day. Got to get a cringe-inducing black history lesson before you can partake of a taxpayer-funded facility. And there it was, a no white guilt flyer, photo attached. So let me see if I can find that one. This lovely woman coming across this no white guilt flyer at her library. Where do we have it? Maybe this one is it. Nope, that's not. This is it. There you go. Right as you walk in the library, you can imagine her surprise when she came across that no white guilt flyer right underneath the Welcome to Weaver, the legacy of Grant County's Black Abolitionist Settlement. And then their big effort, anti-white effort there to white guilt every white person that comes and goes from the library, paid for by their dollars. And then someone decided to place a no white guilt flyer right there. You know what? If they can place their anti-white propaganda out during the COVID-19 pandemic, well, I guess somebody out there felt that they could distribute a no white guilt leaflet. And then this lovely woman shared it with us. Let me move on. I also spotted one of the flyers on a table containing tax forms featuring a helpful little information sheet with imagery promoting white biological erasure. Only 3 things are certain in this world: death, taxes, and anti-white propaganda. So let's have a look at that. Look at this filth that you see on the screen right here. The promotion of biological white erasure. Right there with your government tax forms and state tax forms, you have this non-white male with his white female wife, and then the non-white child. And what, lo and behold, someone has placed a no white guilt leaflet right beside that anti-white propaganda. Well, well, well. Good on them, whoever they are. And thank you to this wonderful woman. Let's get a round of applause for her. She writes here, Jason, I pray that your strength, passion, vision, and endurance never fail you. Thank you, all caps, for all your incredible and tireless work, and God bless and keep you. Thank you, dear lady. That is truly magnificent. You are one of our heroes, and I salute you for going free, for supporting what we are doing, for serving White Wellbeing, and for your keen eye in catching these leaflets as you spotted them out in society when they appeared. And for everyone, if you spot any leaflets out in society or stickers, then please be sure to let us know about it. We have a great many heroes who are regularly bringing my attention to the stickers and leaflets that they find out in their environments. It appears that minds are being changed. So thank you, dear lady. Now, I wanted to also let you know, last piece, I think this is the last piece of, of housekeeping to address, and that is that the minutes for these Going Free episodes are now up all the way through the beginning of this month. These things are educations in and of themselves. The wonderful Kathy who does this for us, and remember, this is a labor of love. She is contributing. I'm able to give her just a pittance of money. It doesn't come anywhere close to what she deserves. So it is a contribution. It is a donation of her time that she does this. And it takes far more time to write these minutes up. If you've gone over to the page, you can find, it says right there at the top of the description, you can go right over there. You can see how detailed these minutes are. And you'll see, if you have any sense whatsoever, that this takes a lot longer than it does just to watch a video. So maybe twice, 3 times as long. And you'll get all of the detailed information, the vernacular we're using, the dialectics we address. These are education, bits of education in themselves. There's no reason to not be partaking of these. A lot of effort is being put into them. And we deeply appreciate Kathy. Big round of applause for all the hard work that she is doing in service to white well-being. Thank you, dear lady. So let's jump right into the Go Free lesson of the day. I think we have everything. Oh, you know what I wanted to mention? Right before talking about the economy and how it has to be reopened, and evidence of the crash that is taking place as a consequence, whether you're delighted about this particular company or not. But I was just emailed, or I was just messaged this: Neiman Marcus to file for bankruptcy as soon as this week. Neiman Marcus Group is preparing to seek bankruptcy protection as soon as this week. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that they're going to go away. Becoming the first major U.S. department store operator to succumb to the economic fallout from the CCP virus outbreak, people familiar with the matter said. So CCP, Chinese Communist Party, of course. This is the Wuhan virus or Chinese virus or SARS-CoV-2. We don't know what YouTube will punish people for, so we will just call it whatever YouTube wants us to call it. And I guess that's going to be COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2. You can't, unlike every other virus, call it from the place that it came from, because it is a non-white place. Rest assured that if it came from Richmond, Virginia, you would be able to say that. If it came from Switzerland, you'd be able to say that. But since it comes from a non-white country, well, you better not say that. And of course, we have all of this contortionists, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, these conspiracy-minded individuals who contort themselves into these pretzels, trying to explain how the regime was taking, anti-white elites and regime were taking this position at one moment and that position another moment and this position. It sounds like something, you know, out of some sort of drug-induced legend of yore. I mean, like people were tripping on shrooms, and they wrote these, and they had been thrown away by the monks in the centuries past, but someone has found them and dug them out of the trash heap and said, well, let's have a look. This is what actually was taking place. Going free, this lens that we use to understand the world, to understand the anti-white narrative, to understand the behaviors of anti-whites, perfectly predicts every behavior the anti-whites have taken. It perfectly retrodicts and explains why they took those positions before. This doesn't need to be just wound up in sort of this plexiform of complexity and going deep to try to understand all of these things. And really that just means making it as confusing as possible so that no one can possibly understand. And then people who aren't intelligent enough to see that there's no sense there conclude erroneously that there must be something profound because they can't understand it. They can't understand how rockets go to the moon, and this person's baffle gabbing over there. They can't understand that either. So they must both be true. Absolutely not. The rocket can go to the moon and you can't understand it because it's complex. The baffle gabbing you can't understand because they're charlatans and they want to confuse you. So let's go ahead and jump right into that. And then after the lesson, I think we will take some calls maybe and or write-ins by way of Skype. So the lesson today, very important lesson from Going Free. And this is on page, this is second edition, iteration 1, page 119, if you have the printed version. Of course, if it is electronic, there aren't page numbers. You just have to look for the chapter Confront, Challenge, and Dispel. Confront, Challenge, Dispel. To combat white noir and mitigate control MPs exercise over your thoughts and behavior, you must use your conscious mind to override your subconscious mind. You must confront, challenge, and dispel, CCD, your MPs the instant they are triggered. You do this by consciously reciting a counter assertion. We CCD because MPs cannot be erased from our subconscious minds. There is no mechanism whereby we can simply delete these ingrained infections. However, by consistently CCDing, you build counter triggers. These counter triggers eventually become part of your subconscious mind. When an MP is triggered by a cue in your environment or your conscious thoughts, your counter trigger is triggered by the MP, thereby decreasing and even negating the MP's influence. So I break it down here. It is Q equals triggered MP, which equals triggered counter assertion, which equals MP negated. And then I go on to tell you in some detail exactly how to do this. If you don't have this text, ladies and gentlemen, you can get it at a discounted rate right now on electronic version, of course, Kindle. You don't need a Kindle reader. You can have any device that can download the Kindle app, and you will you'll be able to read it. And let me just move this over here, and then benefit from these. This is not something perfunctory. This is not something pro forma. This is not something superficial. This is about changing your life. This is about taking control of your mind, taking it back, that control from the anti-whites. And we'll be talking tomorrow, Mr. George and I, with Frody Midyard on this this culture. What is this? What is the channel called? I'll have to, maybe I'll look it up, or maybe if somebody knows the name of Frody's channel, it's something culture. And we'll be over there talking about the movie The Matrix. And he has had many people on, maybe a handful, maybe 6 or so far. And they've discussed different movies. Of course, he's had on Mark as well. And I think they discussed Goodfellas. I listened to a little bit of that. And people are discussing these movies with Frody the way that folks normally discuss films, as though the actors are real people. And I'm certainly not going to try to stop anybody from doing that. And perhaps there are little things to learn by doing that. But that is definitely not what we do here in Going Free. Why, those of you who have been going free for a while, why does a character do anything? Why did Darth Vader do anything? Why did Luke Skywalker do anything? Why did, name any movie you want, why did they do anything that they did? Can anybody answer? It's universal. So some of you listening live or in replay might be saying, well, it depends. What character are you talking about? No, it doesn't depend. The secret's about to come. Andre, script. They all did what they did because it was in the script. That's the reality of entertainment. And regrettably, our brains are unable to tell the difference between entertainment. Consciously, we can. This is where the trick is so deep in how they manipulate thinking. But subconsciously, you can't. So I will be talking about the MPs, the mean pathogens that are in the Matrix, and that may be deflating to some who want to instead hear about. Now, I know you all have heard these sorts of things before, and I don't think this is happening in the white positive sphere. But you all have heard, and it usually happens outside the white positive sphere, these people who will say, well, I'm gonna break down, I'm gonna unpack this movie, I'm gonna unpack this book. And really what the author is trying to do, what the movie maker is trying to do, when you see this, particular scene here, when you see the way that it can get this simple, ladies and gentlemen. When you see the movie maker showed the character slide the envelope from one side of the desk to the other, and what the what the movie maker is trying to tell us there is about the slide from one stage of life to the other stage of life, and on with that sort of garbage. And it doesn't do you a damn bit of good. It might be entertaining. It doesn't do you a damn bit of good. There probably is no proof or truth or whatever to that whatsoever, what the movie maker had in mind. These movie makers, we can figure out what they have in mind by what they put in front of you. Just the same way that if I were making movies, you'd figure out what I have in mind when I put my movies in front of you. We know that these people are anti-white. We have to be dissecting exactly what they are doing to infect you with these mean pathogens, these anti-white ideas that you end up living your lives by, because they then seat themselves in the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind ends up running the vast majority of your life. It is critically important to understand entertainment for what it is. It's not telling us anything about us, okay? Now, you're going to hear people say, it's telling us about this about us or that about, it's not telling us shit about us. Pardon my language. But this is, it gets infuriating when you all out there are being sold short by these approaches that continue to be like blind people groping their way through the darkest of caves in the middle of the world. I mean, it's just insane. We need to be seeing things for what they really are, rather than something that's fascinating or something that's interesting or something that's going to, you know, it needs to be, or no, oh, that's an interesting take. No, it's not an interesting take unless you go free because of it. So I'm going to be talking about that movie, which I haven't seen since, you know, practically since it first came out. I couldn't remember how many mean pathogens were actually in it. I knew the big ones that I could remember from the movie, but there are a great many. In fact, I'll go ahead and mention one right now, because since there'll be 3 of us on this stream, you know, the amount of time that each person will have to speak is going to be limited. So I'll say one right now, and that is that Neo enters the home of the Oracle, and he, of course, is perceived to be by the viewer as a white male, dark-featured white male. Of course, he's the actual actor. I don't know if he identifies as white. I doubt it. He's half white. The other parent was Hawaiian and Lebanese and like 13 other races. So, and he looks very different today than he did back then. So I don't know if he had surgery back then, and now as he gets older, the surgery is sort of failing, maybe surgery on eyelids and this sort of thing back then, and now it's coming through, and his real lineage is coming through. I don't know, but he's perceived to be the white male, a dark-featured white male, and he enters this oracle's home. And in this oracle's home, I'm not going to bother saying, yes, the oracle is a black female, a non-white female. That's really obvious mean pathogen, that the all-knowing, and I could talk about that maybe tomorrow if I get a chance. What I think I'll do, though, is the mean pathogens, I might put them in for the matrix, I might put them in iteration 2 of going free, of go free. So if you want to have these, if you want to have access to that so that you know what to look for when you're watching movies in the future. And maybe I'll do this for more as we move forward, and I'll add more to subsequent iterations. I understand that if you acquire Go Free on Kindle, that you will be able to update without having to buy it again and get subsequent iterations. You won't have to buy it again until there's a new edition, and I don't foresee that anytime soon. So there'll be new iterations, added material to the 2nd edition, but not a brand new edition. So I'm thinking about maybe doing that, because I'm going through the movie anyhow and taking a look at different mean pathogens, and not including every single one, because it could get a little bit redundant for some. And we want to be able to communicate info to people, and so that they can grab it and run with it, rather than inundate them, swamp them, and then there's nothing they can do with that. So the perceived to be white male goes into this living room, and there are all of these children who are potentials to have, you know, magical powers, to be able to take on the matrix, the foe in the matrix. and there is a child, a white little boy, and he's a bizarre child. He's got a shaved head, and he's sitting in some sort of lotus position or whatever they call it, and he delivers advice to the adult, to Neo, the white adult. So the white child delivers advice, wisdom, to the white adult. This, my friends, is a meme pathogen. You may not see it at first, but it is a way to divide the white child from the white parent. The white child is wise, is knowing. How many times now, this meme pathogen has been around for a long time. How many times now have you had these fights in your family, or have you seen them take place in other families, where the parent is no longer able to provide the wisdom of years, the wisdom of our people that has been passed down to the child, because the child is convinced that the child holds wisdom, and parents yield because the parents have been convinced that the child somehow has wisdom to bequeath to their parent. And then you see parents will go at each other. More often than not, this is a mother yelling at the father that, no, the child has a right to say X, Y, or Z and is his or her own person. But it also happens the other way, with father against mother. And the child has this wisdom to contend with the adult's wisdom, the parent's wisdom. You notice how the makers, the anti-white makers of the Matrix, did not show a non-white child schooling Morpheus, the black adult, in some way, shape, or form. No, this is a white child, a goofy, weird white child, schooling the perceived to be white male. It is a deep meme pathogen, sneaks right in under the entertainment. You would think it was innocuous, and then it's busily ruining your lives. This is why entertainment and what you consume as entertainment is far more important to keep your eye on than whether or not you're going to wear a mask to protect you from SARS-CoV-2, or whether or not you're going to not drink petroleum. You know, I mean, it's far more important, because it's going to determine who you are, rather than the sickness of the hour or the month, whatever it might be. So really important there. If you have any questions about CCDing or what I just said, please speak up, and I'll take a look at what you all are saying, and then we'll see what we'll get on to next. And also, last night, one of our heroes, let me get a drink. Regrettably, the pollen, the window is open. It's beautiful outside, but everything is shedding its pollen everywhere. I see, but there are wonderful birds flying back and forth there. I just saw 2 robins go by, but the pollen is coming in force. So perhaps I'll be yellow before the end of the show. We'll see. But if you all have any questions or comments about CCDing, let's hash them out now. Let's talk about them. What does it mean? How do you apply it in your life? How does it help you go free? Why is it important? Anything that comes to mind. One of our heroes brought to my attention last night this new use of the name Karen, pardon me, to mean that someone is a snitch, a rat, a tattletale, this sort of business. And that even folks in the white positive sphere are using this, don't be a Karen, or you're just a Karen, or that's just a Karen. I'm going to say right now, stop. That is a meme pathogen. Taking the names of our white women and defining them in objectionable terms is no different than blonde jokes or Polish jokes or Irish jokes. All of that is anti-white. All of it is prohibited here. None of that is permissible. No one should engage in that. You remember years ago, they did this same thing with the name Becky, and whatever that meant back then. You're just a Becky, always taking the names of our white women. Now, this is becoming a thing for the anti-whites, and then people in the white positive sphere, just like a sponge, just pick it right up. Why do they do that? Because they're not going free. If they were going free, they would immediately say, oh my God, this is a meme pathogen. You're defining the names of our white women. And now, yes, there are non-white women out there with the name Karen. Yes, there are non-white women out there with the name Becky. Yes, somebody might be able to point to say, well, it originally came from a tattletale in this state or whatever, this scenario, and her name was Karen. I don't give a damn. I don't care. It's a meme pathogen. We should not be using the names that are predominantly used by our women and redefine them as objectionable terms. So we should not be saying Karen. We should not be saying Becky for these objectionable things. Why don't you pick the name of that little group that has no power whatsoever? Pick some names out of their community. Pick some names out of the Black community. Pick some names out of the Hispanic. Pick some names out of somebody else's community. Make some names up. Be creative. Make a name up. Don't use a name from any community, non-white or white. Invent a word altogether that is a compilation of the activities that are being engaged in by these people. Be creative for once. Don't pick up the names of our women and say that, oh, this guy or that girl is being a Karen, when that, of course, is meant to demonize our people. I think you can see that by that simple reality there, that it's easy for these things to sink into our bloodstream and poison us. This is why all of those other methods and vehicles have failed. This is why a psychological defense against the psychological warfare will win. So let's stop using Karen and Becky and any of these others that the anti-whites come up with. And then rest assured, ladies and gentlemen, that they are laughing up their asses when they hear you using those words. Laughing up their asses. Look at those idiots. That's what they're saying to themselves. Look at those idiots. They have no idea. So think about that next time. And by the way, if you're one of those folks, and these contrarian type of people, and they started using it, and they're going to say right now, I haven't looked at the chats yet, but maybe somebody has already said, it doesn't matter. It's not going to be harmful or whatever. Well, then just because you've been using it and now you're embarrassed. Hey, if you started using it, just recognize the anti-whites did that to you. And then say, holy God, I'm not going to use that anymore. Realize that they are mocking you. They're laughing at you. And if the anti-whites didn't invent it, they're laughing at you for perpetuating it. So take hold of yourself. Use your conscious mind. Take hold of yourself. Let's take hold of our language. And to do so, we have to take hold of our thoughts. That is critically important, because if we don't take hold of our thoughts, then we have no control over our actions. We have no control over our deductions, no control over our conclusions, no control over the ability to even ask the right questions. That is why this is so important. That is why sometimes you see me up here get so frustrated with the white positive sphere and so many people giving attention to all of these old methods, all of these old ways. You see me get frustrated because I know they're harming themselves. And then I know that egoistic people perpetuate that harm because it brings them more attention and shekels and whatever else. Picking Gauze, 1972 is here. Great to see you. Maybe I need more coffee to wash away the pollen that's coming in. Let's get another bird singing for God. If I'm going to be suffocated with pollen, let's get some bird song at least. Yellow Gut is here. Great to see you. Jay Esom over here on the gardening channel. Hello to you. Ladies and gentlemen, for the next foreseeable future, we are going to be on No White Guilt channel and gardening channel for Going Free. We're going to be here for Chuck Martell's Garage Party. We'll play a song today from Chuck Martell's Garage Party, the most recent one today. And we're going to be on the gardening channel and on the discipline channel for After Hours and the After Party. So write it down to remember if you have to. Make sure that you subscribe to those channels. Make sure you click the bell and then click all. Because if you don't click all when you click the bell, YouTube is going to say, well, we're going to get to decide what from this content producer you get to hear about. So click all at a bare minimum. Click the bell and click all, and then at least you got to hope that they're going to send you the info when I go live, whether it's by myself or Mr. George or what have you, or just release a video. And if you would please help spread this information, this fact about where we will be streaming. Tell other folks to subscribe to those other channels and let other people know that this stream is going on. And I salute every one of you who has taken those steps at the very beginning of the stream. I took a quick look and I saw, I think it was JK160 said something about if we all put it up on the link up on Gab whatever it is, it will trend. Gab News or whatever, it will trend. We have to be the algorithm. As Mr. George says, as we regularly say, we have to be the algorithm because we are being shut down. We are the only channel. And if I'm wrong, then somebody point me to the truth. If what I'm about to say is wrong, somebody point me to the truth. I'll investigate and we'll see. We are the only channel that had governments one at a time censor this channel. Why is that? So this wasn't a UK in association with YouTube. It wasn't any of those other zones in association with YouTube saying, okay, well, this is just a whole block of channels that we find objectionable. No, this was UK banned this channel, and then Germany banned this channel, and then France banned this channel, and then it got to almost the totality of Europe. And then while all that was happening, 2 cable companies in Europe, I think one was in Iceland, banned just this channel. So we should be talking about that when we're talking to others in the white positive sphere about whether or not what they are imbibing and what you are imbibing here is what the anti-white elites see as problematic for their continued control. Now, what ended up happening? Well, there was a big rehash of YouTube, and then all of those blocks disappeared. Why did they disappear? But those blocks that were in conjunction, just part of a deal with the European Union or Schengen zone or whatever it might be. What was it about that? Well, because those were each one-offs. UK had said, YouTube, no, this specific channel. And then somebody at that government called somebody at another government, this is problematic. And so when there was that big change at YouTube, all of those one-offs got deleted. And that's how we started reaching these countries again. Think about that for a moment. Think about what we're doing here and how that is that upsetting to anti-white elites. All right. Let's see if there are any financial gifts because, of course, they get preference. We do. We have over here on Entropy, DF, financially gifting $5. Thank you, my dear friend. And writing, going free all day, every day. God bless you. That's magnificent. Thank you. And then we have Picking Gauze, 1972, financially gifting $5 as well. And writing, love your work, Jason. Well, thank you so very much for that and that support and for the good work that you are doing for White Wellbeing. I'm sure financially gifting $5 is not the only thing that you are doing, that you're out there fighting the good fight. And here, I was having the conversation, what was it, 2 days ago? Today, it was earlier today, I think, with someone in service to White Wellbeing. And they were saying, why aren't we making more happen? Why, as a white positive sphere, why haven't we accomplished more in outreach to the vagues out there, the white brothers and sisters, during this plague? The reason is because not enough of us are going free. The reason is because when you have someone who is, and you see these protests in Minnesota, Michigan, and right here in my home state, Virginia, people getting out in the streets, they're protesting these Procrustean lockdowns that are taking place. And of course, far worse. And by the way, let me just say, Gretchen over there in Michigan, the crazy woman governor who decided things like, well, you can't have you're in agonizing pain because of the cavity or your tooth is broken. You can't get help. But if you need an abortion, yeah, you can get that. You can go motorboating with all of the other good old country boys out there that are in Michigan. But you can indeed jump into a canoe with all of your anti-white. And I'm not saying that canoeing is just an anti-white hobby. Plenty of good people canoe. But, it is more associated with anti-whites than it is with good old boys out there in Michigan. So clearly a crazy woman out there. But I want to juxtapose her with, what's that woman's name? Christy, I believe it is. Somebody can look perhaps for me. I think it's Christy in South Dakota. And she said, leave it open. Leave it open. So I want to salute Christy. I believe that her approach was a little better or was closer to what my approach would have been had I been the governor of a state in the middle of this crisis, than Gretchen's. So a salute to Christie and having the courage and the balls that are far larger than every anti-white male's balls in the rest of society. So I do want to do that. Give a salute to Christie, if that's her name. Thank you very much for standing up. But yeah, we see Trump now is supporting these. And the connection I wanted to make, the nexus I wanted to draw here, is that you have regular vagues out there, brothers and sisters, just vagues out there, white brothers and sisters, they've gotten sick, they've lost a loved one, they have had a limb amputated because of COVID-19, which is happening. They have organ damage, or they have lost their job. They don't have the pay now because everything's been shut down forever. They're going to lose their job. They're looking at decreased pay when they finally are able to get back to work, if they're able to get back to work. Maybe their employer won't even have them full time when they get back to work. All that's happening while the anti-white elites are continuing, including Donald, to bring in more people from around the world, more of these wonderful doctors and engineers and scientists from around the world. We have unemployment as high as the Great Depression, and yet they're bringing more people in to take these jobs, further driving down wages. These people are never going to be in a state, our brothers and sisters out there, they're never, but certainly now, are not going to be in a state to hear about Nietzsche. They're never going to be in a state to hear about endless complaining about politics. They're never going to be in a state to hear about any of that. But they are ripe right now for going free. They are ripe to learn about how their world is being manipulated against them, how their own thoughts are being used against them. They're ready to hear that message. The problem is there aren't enough of us taking the message to them. That's the problem. Now, if we had 10,000 people going free, how many would we be able to help go free by the time the pandemic is wrapped up? If we had 100,000, how many would we have helped by now? How many would we help if we have 100,000 people going with any of these other methods that have all failed? None. None. That's how many. And you know, by the way, in these other methods that have all already been beaten by anti-whiteism, what do they do when they talk about our brothers and sisters out there, the vagues? They just mock them. They just piss on them for how dumb they are and they don't get it. That's all they say. How is that going to bring the millions over that we need to save? It isn't. They have to mock them because they need to explain why their vehicles are not being adopted by the millions of our brothers and sisters out there. And the explanation is, oh, well, they're all dumb. They're all just too stupid. Wrong. The problem is what you're selling, nobody wants to buy. What you're selling has already been proven defunct. That's the problem. That's why we are not able to bring far more people into the white positive sphere in the midst of a pandemic. For how long have all of these people, how many of you all have heard folks just lament endlessly, if only something big would bring society to its knees? Here it is. And where are you now? You're home. You're not doing a damn thing. You don't have the right message. You've complained on, and now you're going to be one of these quacks who are telling the world, well, it's, one moment it is 100% this direction, and then when that explanation doesn't work anymore, it's 100% the antithetical direction. Promethean promulgation over here. Let's keep this rolling, folks. Financially gifting $10. Thank you very much, dear friend. Amidst the COVID-19 crisis, the Postal Service has proudly announced that they have successfully delivered half of Jared George's Valentine's mail from last year. That's a great one. These are these tapisms, folks. If you haven't heard these yet, Promethean promulgation. Were you the one who came up with the I made the Hoppy Monster lay Easter eggs? Somebody did. And of course, We have Luke Mason, who I think started it. These wonderful tapisms, we're calling it, hilarious. They brighten the chat. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Mr. George will like that as well. Let's see over here on Cash App if we have anybody, and we're going to keep rolling along. And we had a computer crash, and we are working on the new computer still, and we will have that up and running as soon as possible. And we have 41 BMC over here, a great participant in the White Positive sphere, in service to going free. Medals for this gentleman. $15 financial gift. Thank you, dear friend. And writing, here's to White Positive start to the week. Here's to a White Positive start to the week. Amen. Salute to you, brother. Thank you very much for that kind financial gift. All right, I don't see, now if you're going to try to get my attention on the gardening channel, do it as gardening with NWG. And if you're going to try on the No White Guilt channel, do it as No White Guilt. Let me jump to the top of this chat, and we will see what has been said, and then we will see what we will do next. Maybe listen to the song, and then we'll get into some calls and, of course, our discussion about exactly how the conspiratorial mind fails. William Runner is here. Great to see you. Can you all hear this pollen in my throat? My God, the trees are letting it off. Lisa, great to see you. That's an interesting name, Mr. Hydrant. Wonderful to see you. Skyscraper, is that what it is? Or sky? I guess it is. Skyscraper. Jane Doe says, very true, NWG. Traditional European says, hi, Jason. Good evening. Good evening to you, my friend. Ron Middlebrook says, the narcs, tattletales, and snitches on the white race. You will be exposed in way or another. Warning. That's right. Let's see. Okay is here as well. Dixie is here. Wonderful to see you. 15 seconds. Hello to you. Revelo P. Oliver, back from the sarcophagus. And Return of the Native says 100% agree to something I'm not sure. Summer here says, don't be a Tyrone. You'll have to look into the chat to see why. I'm not going to repeat those for the protection of the channel because we don't want to suffer the Walserian wrath. Their wrath is limitless. Traditional European, Jason does help people go free. Yeah, I've been doing this, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, and this is something if you're new or fairly new and you haven't, you're not aware, this is not as young as the channel. I have been teaching Go Free on a small group level, giving speeches to small groups of people, medium-sized groups of people. I've been teaching it one-on-one. It has been and continues to be a work in progress. It's a feedback loop. We all are growing together. Those of you out there, and you know who you are, who will jump in and say things like, keep on kipping, and talk about that an area is pristine or an idea is pristine, and using our vernacular helps me to grow as well. We need to be using these things. It needs to be a snowball effect. I'm not, I am as fallible, probably more so than all of you. And so this has been a work in process for me, in progress. And I have been amending the work, improving it all along. And it has gotten increasingly potent for our people to the point now where we have so many testimonials, and we will continue to have them because we continue to produce results. And so I continue to rely on you all for your feedback, and I will continue to give all of my life and everything that I have to help you all go free so that we, as the apostles of going free, can take this to the world and really magnify what we are doing. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you remember, those of you who were here, please speak up. If you heard me saying 6 months ago, 1 year ago, talking about pandemics, saying how these would cause these big shifts, not a pandemic like we had before. You know, I was talking expressly about there will be big pandemics that will shut down countries. It'll be a societal shift changing events, and there will be new opportunities. There are we able, remember, if you remember, I talked about the opportunities. I asked you all a rhetorical question. Will we be in a position to take advantage of them? And now I ask you now, literally, are we in a position to take advantage of this pandemic to help save our brothers and sisters, to redeem them? On some degree, yes, but largely no. So this should be proof positive that these societal shifts, exactly as I said, happen. I don't have a crystal ball. All I'm doing is using the thinking and go free. These things happen, and we need to be in a position next time. There will be more. Not this is the one for your life. There are going to be more in our lives. We need to be in a better position to take advantage of those opportunities, or we will not recapture our destiny. Please remember that. So let's see. Johannes is here saying, ahoy. Skyscraper says, don't be a Mohammed or a Soros. Raymond says, I like Birdsong. Was a nice touch. Could you hear him? The Carolina Wren? The little males, I don't know if you've look them up when you get a chance. They're little birds, but they got a hell of a set of lungs on them. And they do what I call the squat thrust. They'll take their little body all the way to whatever they're perched on, and then stand up really quickly when they throw their song out, as though it's going to make their song go further. It is fabulous. But of course, he's declaring, this is my area, nobody else. All right. Return of the Native says, Charles the Hammer. What else do we have here? Traversing the Divide is here. Great to see you. Jay Easom says, oh no, don't be such a Yoko. These are good. You all are coming up with some good ones. Let's continue to be the fount where the rest of the white positive sphere is adopting the dialectics and the lexicon because it works. You know, they're going to try not those who are imbibing the material, but those who are ego driven are going to continue to try to ignore the dialectics and the lexicon for as long as they can. And then they'll have no choice but to adopt what is successful. They'll have no choice but to adopt what all of their followers are using, because they'll risk losing them. So this has got to be from a bottom up sort of thing. This is the exact opposite of what actually happened with the institutions. This idea of this march through the institutions is a meme pathogen. It is a lie. That's not what happened at all. People were not getting hired because they had anti-white positions when our institutions were run by Christians and conservatives by today's standards that make the modern conservative look like a working in a oh, I can't even say, YouTube is, but you know what I'm trying to say. So that's not what happened at all. What happened then was financiers came in, they got money. If the financiers got the results they wanted, they were undermined if the financiers did not. And then it just appeared to people who weren't long-sighted enough that it was a march up from the bottom. That's not what took place at all. They want you to believe that because they would like you to try to engage in a march through the institutions, because they know you'll never be able to do it. So with us, though, it does need to be a march up from those who are serving white well-being in the white positive sphere, adopting the lexicon and the dialectics, so that those who put their ego ahead of the welfare of our people are forced by the success and their followers to have to adopt these things. Great to see you traversing the divide. And remember, this is a multi-pronged thing that we're doing here. Psychological defense coupled with the creation of culture by magnificent artists like Traversing the Divide, like Luke Mason, like Jeff and everybody at White Art Collective. This is how we are going to have success. This is how we are achieving success. And this is not the, like the ephemeral, fleeting, transitory successes that we've seen so much in the past. It's just the graph goes up, the graph plummets. The graph goes up, the graph plummets. The reason why is because you're just inflating what people are already using, their ideas, their dialogue, etc., just etc. You're just inflating it. And ladies and gentlemen, how many times do I have to say? And you all know. So if you already know, then I understand that you're saying you get it. But for everybody else, and please pass it on to everybody else, these vehicles have lost. That's why they keep falling. That's why they swell up and then drop, swell up and of course mismanagement, egoist running things. Caper Mel is here. Great to see you. AK is here. Justin Lee, the greatest beard in the white positive sphere. Uthdar, I don't know how to pronounce that. Great to see you. I'll have to look it up to see how you all pronounce it. Sound Killer is here. Great to see you. Good afternoon to you. All right. Just taking a look through, seeing if there are any questions. I know we have some questions over here on entropy, and I'm going to take a look at them. I don't see any questions or statements to me yet over here on No Why Guilt. Marquis is here. 5T3VO. Hello to you. Blonde Tiger. That's a pretty cool name. Sounds like one of my bedroom nicknames. Bobby is here. Great to see you. Daneki's Ghost is here. Lane Sabatino. And Imminent Rain is here, one of our magnificent artists. All right, so let's jump over here. It looks like we have Like Comedies has financially gifted $10. Thank you very much, dear friend. Every single dollar, ladies and gentlemen, every single dollar is put into service for White Wellbeing. I don't need money for toothpaste. I don't need money to put food in my belly. If you specifically send something for, you say this is earmarked just for a monitor, like we had in the past, or this is earmarked just for, I will use it specifically what you earmarked it for. Oh, and a big thank you to everyone who has financially gifted by way of cryptocurrency. And I think next Sunday, I'm going to try to do a better, I got to find a way to kind of identify without identifying. But let's get a big round of applause for everybody who has donated cryptocurrency, because they have, or financially gifted cryptocurrency, because they have financially gifted healthy amounts. And although I am not able to do anything with it just yet, every one of those cryptocurrencies and those specific financial gifts is immensely valuable to the cause, and every one of those units of currency will be used for White Wellbeing. Thank you all deeply for that. So Lycotomies, thank you. Writing Go Free here. And we have K-Max McDonald financially gifting $15. You know, the day may come. I hope the day arrives. That's what we're working on. This organizational entity really been handicapped a bit here by this pandemic. But the day may come when this is what I do for my living, and then be able to do a lot more for you all and for our people. And we're working on that, and we will continue to work through that during the pandemic and the ones to come. But for right now, all of this goes in the service of White Wellbeing, to the purpose and cause of creating this organizational entity and the work that we're doing to bring this message to as many people as possible. K-Max McDonald, $15. Thank you very much, dear friend. Jason, writing here, Jason will be doing a movie review with Guide to Culture. That's what it is, Guide to Culture. And it's with a K, ladies and gentlemen. This is with Frody Midyard. I always thought a movie review helps the cause to keep things interesting. What movies would you review if you did this? The anti-white Hollywood is obvious once eyes are opened. Precisely. This has been one of my most successful routes, K-Max, and thank you very much for writing that. Over the years, I have used television shows, commercials, movies, teaching people how to see some of the most prominent meme pathogens. And then once they're able to see, once I've taught them to see that pit viper on the forest floor, they can't stop seeing it everywhere they go. And then instead of that immense superstructure, that immense power of the anti-whites to infect our people and ruin them insidiously, instead of all of that working to the benefit of anti-whites, it works to the benefit of white well-being. This is what I've been arguing for decades. This is what I still continue to argue for, and it's like batting my head up against a wall. Why is it that this is not adopted by everyone? Why is it? Is it because it didn't come out of their mouth first? So what? I've adopted things that you all have said. We adopt what works, and we will continue to adopt what works for our people. This is immensely powerful. It turns their totality of their power, the anti-white power, on its head, and then works for us every single day for the rest of that person's life. Think about that. If you could make electricity work for you, how much power would that give you? If you could make everybody's electricity work for you, how much power would that give you? Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. We have to start being smart. And a big hats off, by the way, to everyone who has challenged others out there by saying, hey, you know what? This exists already. This thing exists. You should take a look if you haven't before. And if you haven't, then why aren't you saying anything about it? Hats off to all of you. You have my deep love and appreciation, not because it has anything to do with me, but because I don't know how many of you saw that tweet I sent out the other day of the 1-year-old little boy. Laura shared this with me. These are just vagues out there. I don't think they know anything about going free or white well-being or what have you. And the father and mother out there, mom is videotaping. Dad throws a pitch of some sort of like a softball and to the 1-year-old little boy, or claimed 1-year-old or so, or 2-year-old or whatever it is. He swings the bat and knocks the ball clear over dad's head. And then there's a fence running parallel, clear over that parallel fence. And I wrote in that, when I retweeted, that if that were my son, I would give him more kisses than there are stars in the sky. That is why I love you for going out there and challenging folks in the white positive sphere, challenging folks out in conservative land, out with the nationalists, out with the patriots, and saying, do you know that this exists? I love you and I salute you for that little boy, because it's his life that we're making better. It's all of their lives. It is the duty that we're owed to our people. All of history coming down to us. We are merely a link in a chain. And by God, we are going to weld that link shut. And it is going to be the strongest of links if we have anything to say with it. If we have anything to do with it, that'll be the strongest link that's ever been made for our people. We are not going to leave this thing unwelded, left open, so that everything can fall apart after us. So thank you very much. And just as a demonstration of that commitment to the well-being of our people, Lydia just financially gifted $75. Let's get a big round of applause for Lydia. Thank you very much, dear lady. Thank you so very much. $75 financial gift to White Wellbeing, and writing here, long overdue. Thank you so much for that. That is very meaningful. And we thank you for your service to White Wellbeing. Over here on the Kevin widget, we have Tall Kevin writing, since going free and helping others go free, I have encountered difficulties in telling why we must sometimes burn bridges with detrimental elements who may be former friends or family members. Any advice? Absolutely. I mean, I guess it depends specifically on the challenges you have faced with individuals. I guess these are other family members or other friends saying, well, you shouldn't burn the bridge. That's my guess, is that those are the individuals you're having trouble with. Because I could easily see, let's just say, a grandmother saying, oh, you shouldn't end your relationship with cousin thus and such, just because that person is living a life to the destruction of Western kind. Because grandmother or grandfather, they don't want to see this disharmony in the family or what have you. An easy response to somebody like that is, this is the same thing as if these people grandmother, grandfather, as if these people were promoting child molestation. And in many cases, anti-whites are promoting child molestation. They are sexualizing children, which of course is the promotion of child molestation. And you simply will not have anything to do with them. Maybe if, I don't know if you called, I don't think you called last week. So maybe if you call and we can get a specific situation that I can speak specifically to. But generally, you stand your ground. You say that what they're doing is detrimental to us as a people. And I know that for you, whoever you're talking to, your interlocutor, that might not be very meaningful. But if you knew what I knew, it would be. And that is why that relationship with that person is over. So thank you very much for that question. You have to take, especially if you have people who are watching you, children, and they're going to be looking to you to see, what does somebody who has character, who has class, who has honor, which is the kind of person you want to be in front of children, whether they're yours or others. What do they behave like? You need to be what you want them to be. Even if you go back home and you cry yourself to sleep for having to act in such a way that embarrassed you or whatever, you need to be who you want them to be in that moment. Even if it means that you have to go change your underwear when you get home because you were so scared in that moment, you had to face down thus and such. You need to be what you want them to be, what you need them to be. Iron Blood has a link here, which I'll check out. Remember when the white man, free of mean pathogens, could pacify nature and make a safe homeland for his family, such as these. I'll take a look at those links. Thank you very much. I do remember, and they're absolutely, if we were in charge of our destiny, this is something else you need to make folks aware of. And our brothers and sisters out there, they will be amenable to this sort of messaging right now, that if we were in charge of our destiny, if white people were in charge of our country, we would not have a problem with coronavirus right now. We would not have a problem with pandemics right now. We would not have a problem with people having limbs amputated and hearts permanently damaged and livers permanently damaged. We wouldn't have a problem with economies crashing, people losing their jobs. We wouldn't have a problem with the government bringing in workers even as we have record unemployment. We wouldn't have a problem with major institutions going under, declaring bankruptcy. And all of that, as you know, ladies and gentlemen, is a deck of cards. It is a house of cards. It is the falling of the dominoes. Each one that declares bankruptcy is more bankruptcy leverage on the rest of business, in B2B, and you as employees in the work environment. So let me see, what else do we have here? Promethean promulgation. A lot of pagans are amenable to going free. How should we incorporate white well-being into pagan discussions, particularly anti-white versus white positive pagan arguments? So let me read that one again. A lot of pagans are amenable to going free. They are indeed. I would say more of the men than of the women. Many of the women, but more of the men, a greater percentage of the men. And the reason for that is that regrettably, both male and female pagans have come to me, just like we have with the Christians who come to me and say, wow, there are some real anti-white elements in our midst, and they assume leadership roles, and then they try to apply their anti-whiteism, whether under the rubric of feminism or whatever it is, under the new name of something within Christianity or in one of the pagan spheres. How should we incorporate white well-being into pagan discussion, particularly anti-white versus white positive pagan arguments? Well, it sounds to me like you are in an environment where there are anti-white pagans. And I would approach that the exact same way I would approach any other environment, with the addition that you can really shame the hell out of people and mock the hell out of people who have adopted. And here, when we're talking about pagan, we're not talking about, or at least I'm not, pagan in the sense of the universal, all religions around the world, or belief systems prior to the arrival of Catholicism or Christianity, what have you. But specifically the white pagan traditions. You can shame the hell out of them. You can mock the hell out of them for trying to turn these things into some universalist creed. I've done it successfully. Others have done that successfully. Perhaps you have witnessed it. Perhaps you have done that successfully before. But you simply talk about everything that we care about here in this pagan tradition exists because we exist as Western kind. It won't continue to exist by way of non-white pagans who have adopted this European faith of yore. It won't continue in its present form. And in fact, you can show examples of this. I wish I had them on the tip of my tongue, where non-white people have adopted. I mean, you can look to Christianity, where there isn't enough white influence, and you see what Christianity becomes in the body of non-whites, where there isn't enough white influence. And you can also see in non-white peoples where there's a little bit of white influence, where there's a lot of white influence, where there is no white influence. You can specifically see how much of the biosphere of our people continues that tradition in a way that is amenable to us, that looks familiar to us, that reflects us. And the less we are present, the less it looks like us, the less it reflects who and what we are, the less comfortable it is for us. And by the way, the more comfortable it is for those non-white groups. So you can talk Promethean promulgation also about the fact that these non-white peoples have biospirits of their own. They're not in touch with these European gods of yore. They're not in touch. Really, that is the European gods of yore, or what then became of Christianity. These things end up coming out of our biospirit. They are who we are. They can't be otherwise. This is the origin. So if you bring these people in, they are going to project who and what they are, and that's natural. They should do that. They want something to reflect back at them that's comfortable for them. The problem is that it's going to erase what's comfortable for you. So go back to your group and then come back to us. Let us know how that lands on those anti-white pagans. And, maybe you get to a point where you're able to win some over, and then some. Remember, what is the most important thing? And we are ultimately, you can view this as, we never view it in the military sense. We always view it in the economic sense, because we won't go to jail for that. So remember, ultimately, you are a salesman, saleswoman. So there are going to be people, as a salesman or saleswoman, that you want to know that they will never come over. They'll never buy the product or service. They'll never believe. They'll never have interest. And the sooner you know that about the person, the quicker you can get away from them. Thank them for that. If you bump up against somebody who's rapidly anti-white and they're like, no way, black people or whatever they are, they can be just as much in tune with, and I've heard this kind of crazy talk before, and then they'll name some European gods of yesteryear, antediluvian times, and I just look at them like, you are so poisoned with MPs. You could say that to them. You are so poisoned with MPs that you think night is day and day is night. But thank you for making it clear to me how deranged you are, how manipulated you are by anti-whites, so that I won't spend another minute talking to you. We'll just move on to the next person. Rest assured that your, the based black pagan friend that you have that is talking about, I don't know, Thor or whoever, rest assured that person is going to be able to use that name. Rest assured that he or she is going to be able to show those, the imagery and maybe get those tattoos or what have you. But that is never going to come from inside of them as a projection onto the world. That will never be the story that they would tell if they were robbed of all stories. Thank you very much for that question. Iron Blood, I'm having dinner. Bell pepper and corn salad as the entree. Grilled swordfish as a main dish. Sounds delicious. And coffee and pistachio ice cream for dessert. Thank you for making it taste better. You're most welcome, my friend. You're most welcome. Popcorn power. Should we explain to the Karens, why they are being targeted? Just not using it seems like a missed opportunity. No, you don't call them Karens, but yes, if somebody is an anti-white, call them anti-white. If they are ratting out, if they are finks, if they are grab a thesaurus, or just look on your phone or online, there are a dozen or more names for people who are tattletales, and use any of those. Call them anti-white. If they are ratting on us for something, they are anti-white. Call them that. Don't call them Karen. Do you see how we get so far afield of what works by following this little, like shine. It's like fish following a lure that has one of those, it's trout fishermen. They use those beautiful little lures and they sparkle in the sun and the fish just go crazy. It's like you become like trout. You're just chasing after, oh, look at that Karen. And you chase after it. No thought. So now you can think about it. Call them anti-whites. Thank you for the question. And Popcorn Power says, have you considered a second career as Batman's enemy, Bane? I think I've seen a picture of this character. I did not watch this movie and or movies. I don't know how many there were. And does he wear like a mask as well? So I guess that's a reference to earlier, the mask I had on. I don't know. If Batman is anti-white, then I'll happily take his ass down. Let's see. K-Max comes back with another financial gift of $10. Thank you very much, dear friend. And I think what we'll do here is after K-Max, we'll listen to this magnificent piece and from Philosophicat, Uberfolk, that we played on Chuck Martel's Garage Party. That's on Fridays at 8 p.m. on premieres on No White Guilt channel, but it's also live streamed simultaneously to Gardening with NWG and 8 other platforms out there. We're doing all we can, as I say, to get this message everywhere. So we'll play that piece and then we'll come back. I will gargle with gasoline or something to get rid of the pollen. But K-Max, thank you very much for your financial gift. Writing here, Jason, what is your advice on sniffing out the Heimbach types? We must have trust of who is genuine for white well-being. Traders cause so much strife. God, this is such a great question. I'm going to come back and answer this one. Thank you for asking it. Heimbach and the like, K-Max writes, should be called white Uncle Toms and feel the shame of the label. Well, you can absolutely call them something like that. And if it sticks and it does shame them, use it. But be sure, nonetheless, we always name those who inflict harm anti-white. So we always do that. It's so important on so many levels. And we can take a whole show to talk about why that's important. And I'll happily do that. But looks like we're at 7 o'clock now, so we have to motor on along. But we'll play this song, come back and briefly speak to that. We got to get to these comments and some calls as well. So let's see if we can find this screen and then get it playing. And we have so many crazy things. There are new rashes associated. I'm not going to talk about these things today because we're running out of time. A bunch of news stories. Rashes associated with COVID-19 now. The You Clap For Me campaign in the UK. How absolutely despicable. So much there. So let's see. Enjoy, ladies and gentlemen.
An access of light, a glimpse into eternity. The immutable force, revealing human destiny. They say only the gods can save us now. Only the gods can save us now. If only the gods still cared somehow. If only we knew the sacred vow. They shine the memory divine, victorious presence of the gods, divine, come down to earth, divine, come down to earth. Only the gods can save us now. Only the gods can save us now. If only the gods still cared somehow. If only we knew the sacred vow. Access of light, a glimpse into eternity, the immutable force, superhuman legacy. Only the gods can save us now. Only the gods can save us now. If only the gods still cared somehow. If only we knew the sacred law. Only the gods can save us now. Only the gods can save us now. If only the gods still cared somehow. If only we knew the sacred law. Look at my way of sacred things. Divine, victorious presence of the gods on earth. Divine, come down to earth. Divine, come down to earth. Relight the supernatural light. Can you still hear our prayers?
Absolutely stellar, magnificent piece, I must say, ladies and gentlemen. Where do I have it actually playing? That's a good question. But there we go. A stellar piece. A beautiful voice, a beautiful woman. A great contribution to the service of white well-being, and something that I hope will ignite the fires of a great many hearts for our people, spurring us on further and further. So to the question that K-Max McDonald was asking, spotting the Heimbach types in our movement. Writing here, we must have trust of who is genuine for white well-being. Traders cause so much strife. So essentially, what I was able to do, and what you all will be able to do when it came to Heimbach, when I first met this guy in subsequent meetings with him, was that if you hear somebody advancing an agenda, a cause, for ostensibly for white well-being, that is going to, and this makes it easy. This makes it really easy, much easier than trying to find somebody who is merely ego-driven in the general world. If you see them advancing an agenda that is a picture perfect or nearly or facsimile of the antagonist in the anti-white narrative, you know that they're doing this to get attention from the anti-whites rather than advancing our cause. Now, you could have somebody, if you're talking to somebody who's, let's say, very uneducated, perhaps very unintelligent, you could be talking to somebody who just doesn't know any better. They look out at the world and the anti-white narrative is their world. I mean, even look at, we have the smartest people out there in the white positive sphere. They think the anti-white narrative is the real world. They continue, you know they do, because they continue to plot courses through it as though that's the real world. So if you have people with nosebleed IQs and on top of that education, and they can't figure it out, just imagine somebody who didn't even make it through high school, who is also on the left side of our bell curve. So you could have folks like that, they just don't get it, and you help them come to the truth. But if you have somebody of at least lukewarm IQ, average IQ, and certainly somebody with greater IQ than that, and or education, the important thing here is more the intelligence, because education could and more often equates to being more riddled with mean pathogens. So it's the ability to compute. That's really what the raw intelligence is, the ability to compute. And if you see such an individual, and Heimbach was definitely at least lukewarm IQ, and yet, and their claim is that, well, they are involved because they want to advance the well-being of our people. And you say to them, this is K-Max, this makes it easy as it couldn't be easier. You say to them, well, have you ever thought about how damaging it looks to be associated with all of the harm that is conflated with what you advance? Because you know you're never going to be able to change everybody's minds on that issue, whatever issue that might be. And if they still say, nope, going to move forward, you know you're dealing with an egoist. You know you're dealing with somebody who is putting themselves, their fame, the attention they're getting, this potential, with Heimbach, the sex from his mother-in-law or whatever else. I don't know all of this. I don't even care. If I'm wrong there, then somebody can correct me. But whatever it is, if you're looking at somebody who is out there for themselves, so it makes it really easy in the white positive sphere. So I've been able, over the course of my life in the white positive sphere, to easily ascertain, because if I've broken something down for someone and I see them, you can see different responses. If somebody, let's say somebody is really tied to a specific period in history, okay? And then you share with them, hey, just exactly like I said, do you really want to conflate what we're doing now for white well-being with something so demonized? Because yeah, you know this, but you're not going to be able to change everybody's minds. And they give you this face like they realize, suddenly put two and two together if they haven't before. If they give you that sort of face or that sort of response, like yeah, but you know now that you have convinced them, you've persuaded them. Now there's a push and pull going on in their minds, and they're just reluctant or even loath to put it down because of their affinity for it, their love for it, what they believe to be the truth. And that's why I say to such people, if you really honor it, put it in a place of reverence. Don't put it out in front of the swine. And then you know that you're dealing with somebody who's actually caring about white well-being, someone who's considering what they've just been persuaded by. But it never persuaded Heimbach. So if you can imagine that you were sitting in front of Heimbach, right alongside me. And I said, this is really going to be damaging. And then he continued in front of us to make excuses for why he's going to move forward with it anyhow. Then you would be seeing someone who cared little about us and more about getting in front of television crews, which is exactly what he did every single time. And then to compound the matter, every single time, the couple of times, not even a handful of times that he showed up events that I was at after that, and I spoke with him, and I said, look, this is harming our people. It's deleterious. You're going out and saying these things. You really need to drop that. You can see, you're smart enough to see how this is harming us. And he would say, no, actually, I'm not going to do that anymore. Now I've got something more outrageous, something that's going to offend more people, something that is more in keeping with the antagonist and the anti-white narrative than even before. Then you really have the confirmation that you're dealing with an egoist. And that's how I was able to very easily make the prediction that one of these days, he's going to run out of the attention that he could get by being an antagonist in the anti-white narrative, and he's going to turn on us so that he can get attention for that. And that is exactly what he did. And K-Max, you will be able to do the exact same thing now. You see, you don't even need a crystal ball. There's nothing magical about this process. If someone is looking to aggrandize themselves, and that's all that matters to them, then, based on a couple of other, character traits, and which is too complex to go into here, you can make the prediction that at some point that person is going to get tired, going to run out of the attention that he or she is getting by being the bad guy in the anti-white narrative, and then flip. Now, there are others who are egoists that we also have to shun, call out, etc., for their egoism rather than service to white well-being. And it is a healthy thing for the organism to do that, to shun and push these people out so that they have to change, so that others don't emulate them, that are not necessarily wanting to emulate the antagonist and the anti-white narrative to get a discussion with reporters and have news cameras and all of this sort of business. But they're trying to build their own little fiefdoms because they're small-minded people. And they want to get that attention for themselves. You can also see there where they are not doing things like talking about the successes that are happening in the white positive sphere. When they're not talking about those, when they are studiously ignoring, no, let's not talk about that in front of my little fiefdom that I'm growing here, because they are all just, taken up with whatever it is that they're doing. Then you know that you're dealing with an egoist as well. And that is not healthy for us. It has never been healthy. Not only do we need to shun the egoists, but we also need to shun those who support the egoists, because there are a lot of people out there that think, hey, if somebody's popular, then they're right. If somebody is pretty or handsome, then they're right. If somebody is an egoist, then they're right. They're good for us if they're an egoist, because they're going to go out there and serve their ego and make themselves big. And what ends up happening is those people who think that way become audience to the egoist. And what does, quite natural for the human animal, where they see a crowd, they want to join it. So instead of that person, a follower of an egoist, instead of that person going free, forming a crowd around something that is truly beneficial for people so that attracts other people, this individual has become an element of our destruction. Because now with their participation as an acolyte, as a sycophant of an egoist, they bring more attention to the egoist. Does that make sense, everybody? That is why it's so deleterious for us. So thank you that's an absolutely excellent question. I'm going to take calls in just a second. My Skype, and nobody, and the way it's going to work is you write in to me, and first line, you tell me what name you want to be called, and second line or sentence, what you want to talk about. We're running out of time, so we're only going to be able to take a few calls. We'll go just over 2 hours, but not much longer. And then I will call you back. So send those messages to me on Skype. And I believe maybe the mods have the name on Skype. Jason Kuna, No White Guilt on Skype. Remember, don't call but write a message to me. And let's cover this. I want to go over this quickly. And this is the discussion I want to have about these people who end up, these conspiracy theorists who end up bringing many of our people to places that are unproductive for white well-being. And I'm going to talk, I want you all to see exactly, so this is going to be interactive. I want you all to participate. You're going to be participating in this. Interactive. So the first thing I'm going to do is start off with something simple. And then I'm going to start off with something that I am really surprised. I have not, a theory that I have not heard, and perhaps I've just missed out on it. Nobody has sent it to me. And it's completely possible that people are talking about it at length elsewhere, but I missed it. But nonetheless, if it's not happening somewhere, it will be now. I'm going to share it in such a way that you all will figure it out on your own. So the first one here is what I want you to look for. This is the conspiracy theorist mindset and how this fails you. So all of us have suffered from this at some point. Every single one of us. It's okay to be wrong. It's just not okay to continue being wrong. You have to be redeemed. So what I want you to focus on right now is there's going to be a moment when I say what I'm about to say. We're going to start off with something easy and then one real world application of it. I want you to pay attention to, the only way I can put it is clicking into place, a clicking into place in your thinking. When there is this clicking into place, you will feel, now there's chemicals involved in this. We're not going to get into all of that. Maybe we could some other show from the very beginning, make the whole show on it. But you'll get a sensation, a physical sensation when this clicking sensation takes place in your mind. All right? So this is how the conspiracy theorist mindset fails you. So pay attention to the feeling here. Easy example first. So this is just a, as I say, a little, I guess like a little, not a rhyme, but like it was actually out of a joke book. So what is the difference between a big hill and a big pill? What is the difference? Ponder the question for a moment. Don't jump in and say it in the chat if you figure it out or if you've read the joke before. What is the difference between a big hill, H-I-L-L, and a big pill, P-I-L-L? What is the difference between a big hill and a big pill? I'm saying the question several times. I'm asking the question several times because I'm setting up your brain for this moment. Think about it for a moment. Pay attention to how this feels. Look for that clicking sensation in the mind. One is difficult to get up, and the other is difficult to get down. Did you feel the sensation? Was there a clicking moment for you? Suddenly, you'll notice, most of you will notice, that when you receive the answer to this silly little joke, there was a moment that it clicked together and there was a bit of satisfaction. Ah, yes, one is hard to get up or difficult to climb. The other is difficult to get down. That clicking sensation. You have that same sensation and that sense of satisfaction from any joke. It's how, or most jokes, it's how they work. So now I want you to pay attention to this one. This one's going to be a bit more difficult. And I'm going to actually go backwards with this one. But the point is, and I'll go ahead and make the point about the conspiracy theorist mindset right now and how it ends up taking you to the wrong destination, the wrong conclusion. That sensation, that feeling is not fact. That feeling is not truth. That feeling is not confirmation. You just had that feeling from a joke. Difficult to get up a hill, difficult to get a pill down. What happens with the conspiracy theorist mindset that we've all suffered from and that millions are suffering from right now. And they are like, they're like a cat on crack chasing a laser beam, is that things click together one moment and then they think, that sensation I just had means truth. That sensation I just had means fact. It is real because it feels real. It is right because it feels right. Ladies and gentlemen, feeling is not thinking. Feeling is not thinking. It's not right because it feels more right. It's not true because it feels more true. This is merely a sensation that takes place in the brain when things click together. You have that moment of where it feels like it clicks, and then you get this satisfaction, and people end up thinking that the satisfaction means truth. Now, the reason why you see people 1 minute and they become very passionate, don't they? 1 minute it is, oh, you've got to believe this about COVID-19, or you are an agent of the government. And then he insults. And then 2 days later, something else clicks for them and they get the satisfaction sensation. Are you seeing for the first time? Has anybody ever talked about this before? They get that satisfaction sensation. And it's, even though it's this way now it's, if you don't believe this, you're an agent of the government. This is how you get led around by the nose. This is all day long how the anti-whites are able to lead you around by the nose. So here goes one that is applied to our world. And I'm going to do this backwards and I'm going to number it. And then, so for those of you, probably everybody should have gotten the joke, right? This will be a little bit more advanced. So you probably have to have a little bit of a higher IQ. But nonetheless, video is going to remain up. You'll be able to go back and listen a couple times until you finally get it if you struggle with it. But this at least will have to be lukewarm IQ. All right. So number one, all the weaknesses of guilt and responsibility for the guilted responsible party and all the benefits of being the malicious party doing the guilting. I'll read number one again. All the weaknesses of guilt and responsibility for the guilted responsible party and all the benefits of being the malicious party doing the guilting. Number two, China guilted. Number two, China guilted. Number three, responsible for all the loss of life and ruined lives from the disease and associated disruptions. Number three, responsible for all the loss of life and ruined lives from the disease and associated disruptions. Number four, China on the verge of overtaking anti-white elites' largest economic powerhouse, the United States of America. Number four, China on the verge of overtaking the anti-white elites' largest economic powerhouse, the United States of America. Number five, right before supplanting that economic powerhouse, disease released. Number five, right before supplanting that economic powerhouse, disease released. If you were following that, you should have had a clicking together moment and that sensation of satisfaction. And what is it? It's not truth. That does not make this true because you get that feeling of things clicking together. I'll read it one more time. One reading for each number. Number one, all the weaknesses of guilt and responsibility for the guilted responsible party and all the benefits of being the malicious party doing the guilting. Number two, China guilted. Number three, responsible for all the loss of life and ruined lives from the disease and associated disruptions. Number four, China on the verge of overtaking the anti-white elite's largest economic powerhouse, the United States of America. Number five, right before supplanting that economic powerhouse, disease released. So you should have had it by then. You should have had a clicking moment. Oh my God, a sensation, a satisfaction sensation that washes through your mind that, wow, that's really possible. You'll understand from the way I delivered it that it had to be delivered that way to protect the channel, because you're coming to your own conclusions. I'm not giving you any. But so you'll see the intelligence behind that decision. But the point to take away from this is that the clicking sensation that, oh, that makes sense, and the satisfaction that follows does not mean that the thing under examination is truth. And this now empowers you to understand how those idiots around you, who 1 minute are a cat on crack following a laser beam in one direction of, it's got to be this. And if you don't believe it, you're some kind of government agent or fool. And then the next minute, nope, 180 degrees. It's got to be this. And if you don't believe that, you are a government agent or fool. Now you can understand what's wrong with these people. And if you understand what's wrong with them, you can do what? You can navigate what's wrong with them to help them go free. That is why we are bothering to talk today. That is why we ever bother to talk, is to help our people go free. So let's see. We had a question coming. I think we had a financial gift. Mark, financially gifting $5 hopping dollars from Australia. Thank you, my dear friend. At least I think those are Australian dollars. I just ordered We Are Doomed by Jay Derbyshire. I love your content, but I'm very pessimistic about the future of Western civilization and think it will be doomed. How can we recover our destiny? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Mark, I haven't, he's writing over there where you have the guy in charge is busily talking about how how an Asian woman is our leader and he can't wait to vote for her for president. And he was not saying it as a joke. And then you have Derbyshire saying that we are doomed. We are doomed. Seriously? No wonder you feel pessimistic. Now, I haven't read this book. Perhaps he's being flippant and with the title, and he's actually going to say throughout that book that we are going to recapture our destiny. But anybody, this is what, in my opinion, if Derbyshire goes through this book, if you read through this book and he's pessimistic in this book and he says that we are doomed, I want you, Mark, the first thing for you to do to become less pessimistic, to make a video of setting his book on fire and then share that on Twitter or Gab or whatever it is and tag me, because this is despicable. I've met this guy. And this kind of talk about we're doomed is absolutely reprehensible. It's not funny. It's not. There are lives that we need to save. And it is not in the least bit acceptable to say to our compatriots that we are doomed. There's little we can do, or there's nothing we can do. It is not. It is absolutely reprehensible. It is absolutely condemnable for somebody in a thought leadership position to say something like this. So I don't, again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the book says the opposite. Maybe the book says the other direction. But I'm going to tell you this right now, Mark. We are optimistic here. We are taking advantage of the weaknesses in the anti-whites armor, the victimizer's armor. We refueled the conversations that we have with our friends and family. We save lives. We create lives. We are growing in numbers. And these are people who are not are will-o'-the-wisp, capricious fools who are going to follow one idea one day and then another idea the next. These are people who are building, they're becoming inured. They are building an armor, a psychological armor against the anti-white narrative. We have talked, Mark, about these societal shifts and how these afford us opportunities. They change the entire layout of our world in ways that we cannot forecast. I have predicted these. One has just happened, and we are not able to take advantage of it because too many idiots are writing books titled and speeches and articles talking about how we're doomed. We are not doomed. For all of the education that this guy has, married to a non-white woman. For all the education that he has, he is still stuck in mediocrity. In fact, that's what we're going to say of people, that they're all mediocrities, no matter how bright or educated they are. When they sit themselves down inside this context, which was just societal context, which was just changed, and say, well, there's no way out of it from where I'm sitting. And so therefore, I'm going to tell the world how doomed we are. I'm going to make sure everyone else out there is as pessimistic and as a do-nothing and as much a mediocrity as that person is. Despicable. I hope it's not. I hope it's the opposite. I hope this guy is saying, no, in fact, I was just being flippant. And actually, there's nothing but promise on the horizon for our people. I hope that's what actually is inside of his book. But if this is about pessimism and you start reading into it and you see that it's pessimistic, set fire to that piece of garbage. Set fire to that rag and videotape it and say, this is the end of my pessimism. This is the day my pessimism ends. And then what I want you to do, Mark, is I want you to get, instead, go free. Get it electronically. If you're over there in Oz, be able to get it on a Kindle or any such device. And I want you to begin working on the MPs in your life. I want you to begin going free of the, you'll find out why you feel pessimistic quickly. You'll realize, my friend, that Derbyshire, if he's doing it in this book, and others, the reason why you feel pessimistic is because they say, they look at the context where it is today, and they say, well, the only thing we can do is take over our governments. Not possible. Then you end up feeling saturnine. Then you end up feeling lugubrious. They say we need to take over our institutions of higher learning. Not possible, my friend. You get melancholic, further depressed. That is why you're pessimistic. This is action. This is changing your life. And then as soon as you learn this and you begin making great strides in who and what you are, you then turn to your loved ones and friends around you and you begin helping them go free. You have victory after victory and you regain your destiny. You recapture your destiny as we recapture our destiny as a people, one piece at a time, one friend at a time, one loved one at a time. And this, my friend, has been proven that we can teach it to you, and then you can teach it to others, and they can teach it to others. That is how we recapture our destiny. And then, as I said, when the next societal shift comes along, or maybe we get enough people that we can put our shoulder into it and force the next societal shift, then there'll be new opportunities that we can't fathom now. And we will be able to exploit them with the liquidity, the numbers, the genius, everything we need in place when they present themselves to us. This is already becoming apparent. I've already been talking about these things for a long time. We are beginning to see the different non-white groups and these anti-white victimized groups. We are beginning to see them turn against each other in the midst of this new societal shift. And haven't we been talking about that, ladies and gentlemen? All of this is new opportunities. So let's grow this community, Mark. Cure yourself, treat your own MPs, grow this community, and we will have opportunities you can't fathom that we'll be able to take advantage of. That is how you become optimistic. So thank you very much for those that financial contribution and for that great question. I sure hope that Derbyshire is not in any way actually telling the population that we're doomed. I mean, what else do they want to say over there? I think we had another question coming as well. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, sloths. I frequent a philosophy forum and started using the lexicon. A member said, anger against anti-whites sounds corny. A member said, anger against anti-whites sounds corny. I said, does it matter? I kept using it. He ran off, deleted his account. Beautiful, sloths. That is magnificent. Yes, we have all, and Mark, heed that success right there. You're not going to have any success preaching what those individuals over at that website are preaching. None of it. You'll have zero success. You will lose. You'll feel pessimistic. You use the lexicon and dialectics here, you'll win, just like Slots won. You'll come across somebody like Slots did here, and you'll be talking about anti-whites doing X, Y, or Z. And one of their tactics, one of the responses that an anti-white will use will say, oh, that's silly. That's a silly term. No, there's no such thing, or whatever. You keep using it, and then they quit and they lose and you win. That's what victory tastes like. God bless you, Slots. Thank you very much for sharing that story with all of us. Let me see what else we have here. All right, I think that's it. Let me see if we have any calls. And who was here first? Okay. Well, it looks like we are not going to, this is Spencer's thoughts, and maybe we could do that next week. Have you and Spencer's thoughts is saying here, like to call in, would like to have a friendly discussion with Eminent Rain on Christianity versus paganism. No infighting or uncivility will be involved. We're really running short on time today, brother. Maybe next week we could have a brief discussion between the two of you on Christianity versus paganism. And we'll see. As long as we're talking about going free and being able to work together, irrespective of religious persuasion or no religious involvement whatsoever, because that's what matters. We're not going to be the two guys in the Alamo debating over what the future economy of Texas looks like. So we'll keep that in mind. Thank you very much, though, Spencer's thoughts, for reaching out. And could be an interesting conversation. We do have Kevin here. Okay, so the question is about cutting ties with a family member who is anti-white. And Spencer's thoughts, if you have something else that you would like to say instead, write me another message. But right now we're going to reach out. We're going to call Tall Kevin. So Kevin, get ready for the call, and we will ask you about severing ties with family. All right, we will try Tall Kevin back in a moment. Perhaps he stepped away. I will read right here. Greek American over on the Gardening Channel has written, I clipped some parts of your streams, and this looks like maybe Kevin is calling in. Okay, here it is. All right, Kevin, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, hold on one second, brother. I'm going to read this. Greek American wrote over here on the Gardening Channel, everyone, says, I clipped some parts of your streams and showed them to my mother. She agreed with many of your points, especially your comments on the anti-whites of New York. I also published the clips of the Going Free streams on my channel. So everybody follow Greek American. And Greek American, thank you so much for that splendid testimonial for the dialectics and lexicon that we use here on Going Free. And Mark in Oz, if you're listening to that, you have two testimonials to victories rather than we are doomed, which you get over there on that other website. So instead, let's push Going Free, and let's hear from you, brother, over there in Oz, if whether or not you feel some more positivity as a consequence of winning in these conversations, winning with yourself, and tapping into, by the way, something you really need to know, Mark, is that you have great potential physically, mentally, and spiritually. And if you don't treat the MPs inside of you with going free, you'll never access it. So you're going to feel great gains in yourself by beginning to go free as well. So Kevin, let's get to quickly about your family member. And as we're running out of time, I don't want to rush you, but what's going on, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll make it quick. Just it's kind of came to a head on Easter where, had a somewhat, not an argument, but just a discussion about, politics and generic issues of, going free and kind of the opposite, which is my sister. She's in that camp and I'm in the going free camp. And obviously I'm not going to totally cut ties. I'm still going to, visit her on holidays and Christmas. And I'm the godfather of her child, so I can't cut ties with that because that would be kind of abandoning a, white child to the anti-white regime out there. And I would never do that. But I'm just trying to figure out how do you kind of deal with cutting ties in an emotional sense of realizing that, your sibling is gone down another path that it's, the antithesis of your life, but you still have to maintain relations because that's just what us as Western, what we do. So I'm just trying to figure out how do you kind of balance the anti-white, but then the West spirit, the spirit that's within us to maintain contacts and, keep in touch and obviously like mentor a child if you're the godfather or godfather. Myself, I'm a godfather.
Well, congratulations, being a godfather. That's magnificent that your sister thought highly enough of you that she chose you to be a godfather. That says a lot, first of all, for
thank you.
Your who you are, your character, and therefore speaks to the persuasion or the ability to persuade you will have over the child or children that you end up being a godfather for. You wouldn't be chosen as a godfather if you were some reprehensible cur, some irresponsible person.
I'm not this rabid,
right
type of guy from the past and scream. And it's just, in general, we just kind of really, you can't have more of a social conversation as opposed to the weather and gas prices. I can't talk really about politics or movies or things like that because there's going to be a big argument. So I just kind of say, hey, how's it going? Everything's good. All right. You're doing all right. And that's pretty much it. I can't say, oh, look at this commercial. This is going on. This is going on. Look at this movie. Why do you watch this? Why do you have Netflix? Why do you have Amazon Video? Why do you pay for this Hollywood crap? I can't really delve down those lines anymore because every time I do it, it's an argument. So I'm just trying to figure out how do you balance, spreading the message of going free with your family and then just trying to be a normal, quiet type of person. I think pretty much how to put a muzzle on it. That's kind of what I'm getting.
That's a absolutely great question. And it is so sad that so many of us now have to try to navigate these troubled waters in our lives. It's something that the old vehicles in the white positive sphere end up causing people to turn away from white well-being because they think to themselves, and there's a content producer that has turned away, we're not going to name him, but there's a content producer that has turned away from white well-being because of family ties. And it is a terrible thing that is indeed the case. So how do we navigate those waters? Obviously, it is going to be very individualistic, but there are some general rules, very individual because there are going to be different circumstances, but there are some general rules. If you are going to be continuing the situation with the family member who is anti-white, specifically we'll speak to your situation with your sister. Now that you have a common ground where you can talk about frivolous things, superficial things, gas prices, or what have you. You cannot, because of how anti-white she is, you cannot go down the path of, well, let me tell you why media is so bad. Let me tell you why X, Y, or Z. What you should do, because this is where you were coming from, is you care about your sister. You love your sister. You love your sister's child or children.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully. So you want what's best for them. So you can, in the midst of these sort of conversations with her, these superficial conversations, I'm sure you get together on holidays and things of this nature. If there are particular events, you can say things that lead her thoughts to an inevitable conclusion without actually saying, here's the conclusion. So something like with the COVID-19, You could say, by God, I wish, nothing would crush me more than for you to catch this horrible disease, and or for my God, son or daughter to catch this horrible disease, even later down the road when it would be detrimental to his or her life. And it's just a real shame that we have a system in place that has enabled this. I don't want you all to get sick. Saying that, and then moving on to walk away from it with the conversation. Don't literally walk away, but walk away from it in the conversation. No, yeah. She will realize in short order that you are expressing concern for her safety. It's genuine. It's coming from a real place. What I want you to do, Kevin, is tap into that genuine concern you have for her and that genuine concern you have for your godchild, and express that concern in a general sense relative to the principles and dialectics we teach here in Going Free. So the way we just did it, saying a system is in place that has enabled this to happen. She's not going to conclude by knowing you. Surely she knows you. Surely she knows that you care about
Yes, she does.
Okay.
She absolutely knows what I'm about.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So if she knows what you're about, then she'll know that tacitly, unspoken, that you're saying, God, for your well-being, for my godchild's well-being, I really wish the system wasn't in place. She'll know what you mean. And she'll also know that it is coming from a place of love in your heart. And if she realizes that, then she'll be able to be persuaded without feeling like she's being persuaded. She'll put your opinion into that sort of that area of thought that, well, he just wants what's best for us. He thinks that's what's best, rather than the brother is wrong. He is this anti-white slur. He's always trying to create these sort of beliefs in us. Now, when this child gets old enough, or maybe already is old enough to understand some more of these things, let's say the child is, I don't want you to say exactly.
4 years old.
Okay, great. So what you can say then to this roughly child of this age is, when the child is in your presence, you can use these sorts of things. You buy the child a book with beautiful little white children in it, and you can show when the child opens the book and it has the pictures, you can say, don't they look great together? Aren't they? Look at her pretty green eyes. Look at his pretty blue eyes. Don't they look like a great match? Don't they look a great pair? These are beautiful children. And then your sister's not going to argue with, I wouldn't think. I mean, she's not that anti-white. She's not going to be like, no, they're not good together. They need to.
No, yeah, it's not that bad.
Okay, good. So that is such a fundamental thing that people overlook. You, as an adult, are going to be the equivalent of a god to that child, and even more so because you are given this title of godfather to the child. So you are going to carry a great amount of influence. Saying something that simple to a child that young will do far more good than getting a child at 15 and having to use these long persuasive arguments and some of the things we've talked about, like having to say, just between you and me, I know what you have to say for everybody else. I know what you have to say for your sister, for your teachers, or for your mother, but just between you and me, we know what's going on in the real world. With a child, you can use this sort of thing, and even better, your sister doesn't even have to know this. She can even be present, and you can pull this off without her even realizing it. And remember, you're doing this for the love of the child. You're doing this for the love of your sister. Your sister's poisoned, and so we're trying to help her. So you're going to take you're going to take the book, and if there is a picture of say where they're promoting white erasure, maybe it's a non-white, or you could do like a magazines lying on the table. It's not something that you bought for the child. You don't want to buy it for the child, but it shows like a non-white with a white person. They're married, or they're getting married, or something like this. The child understands that they're a couple or whatever. You can, with the sister even present, and without her even noticing, show the image to the 4-year-old and just make an ugly face. Point to the image, show the image quickly, and just make an ugly and then set it down.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Everything that needs to be communicated. And mind you, children are far more attuned to the facial expression of adults than adults are to each other's facial expressions. You will convey 10,000 words of information by just doing that little simple motion with your godchild. So you're coming from a place of love with all of these things. And if you put your mind on that track, that your sister has been poisoned, you want to save her, you want to protect her, you want to protect the child. If you come from that place and you're empowered with the dialectics of going free, you will inevitably come to the right answers in the things that you should say, the things that you should do. And a very simple one right now that we mentioned with COVID going around is just to say, I really wish that all of these policies weren't in place that could possibly end up harming you, could possibly end up harming mom or other people that you two care about.
Yeah.
And then, so what were you talking about? You could say, well, enough about that for now. How about something nice? So what were you saying about your promotion or whatever it is? Just jump onto something else, walk away from it mentally with the conversation, and that will gain you so much credibility with her, where it's coming from means everything, that you'll be able to take even bigger steps in the future. So God, thank you so much because let me tell you, brother, you're doing folks.
Thanks for answering the number one. Yeah, that's great. I'm going to obviously listen to this and back in replay, put it up on YouTube when you're done with this. That's a lot to take in, but yeah, that's perfect game plan to figure out how to solve this problem.
Fabulous. Well, God bless you, brother. You are one of our very best, and it's such an honor to have you on and have you asking a question that so many people are doing. You just helped. Who knows how many people will end up being helped by this? So God bless you.
And one thing I'm thinking maybe some people might have some questions about this. I'll just give kind of a background, but the thing is financially, she's not poor off. That's the thing. She's not living in some ghetto or some low income area. She's actually obviously she makes more money than me, but she's high up on the income list or whatever you want to call it, the tax
tax bracket,
tax bracket. But somehow that the infection, it still reaches people regardless of where they're at. So she's not some toothless hillbilly living down in the trailer park. She's if you saw her from far away, you think, oh, she's a normal person, one of our kind. But that thing is, in the background, it's not, and that's kind of what it's a hard nut to crack. But now, when you told me all this stuff, I definitely have to memorize a lot of it and put it into practice and see how it works out. But it helped me out a lot. Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
Oh, man, God bless you, brother. Thank you for everything you're doing, and also thank you for mentioning that she's up in the tax bracket. There's so many folks in our white positive sphere.
It's 100 and up.
Okay, so she's the issue is with those folks is that they are often villainy signal more often, and they are terrified, even in private conversations, to entertain these thoughts because they are more aware of how much they have to lose, and they have more to lose, and that is why these people. Sorry,
I don't want to cut you off. No. I don't want to cut you off. But the thing is, that they make a lot of money, so they realize that the faucet can get shut off if they start saying certain things. But the main thing is they make so much that they can live in these little enclaves that they're pretty much isolated from the real world, and they don't live around certain types of people, so they can just say, oh, they're all the same. They're not. They don't do that. That's all Hollywood stuff. And then you ask them a question. Well, why don't you live on this street? Why don't you live in this town? Why don't you live in this city? Oh, well, I'm not. And they never actually explain why they don't live there. But that it's the famous quote. I don't know who coined it, but diversity for thee, but not for me.
Yes.
And that absolutely applies to her. And
yes.
I'll let you go. I don't want to be talking all the time on your show. But
no, you're great. It's great to have you, brother, and thank you for everything you're doing for White Wellbeing. I salute you.
Yeah, I'm every week I'm at it, and I make it imperative to listen to these shows. And I don't want to take up the airspace and all that, but I love calling it not stupid. They were out listeners, letting them know that hey, there's real people out there going through some shit.
Yeah,
you need some help. You need some help. So that's what it's all about.
Indeed, brother. Well, thanks for calling. We'll have you back.
Yep. All right. See you, man.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen. How about that? Wasn't that magnificent? Let me just, they want me to rate this thing. Tall Kevin, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely fantastic. Looks like we have maybe Spencer's Thoughts writes here, I'll call regardless, just as a precursor. If you don't want religion involved, I understand and can acquiesce. You mean next week? What I was mentioning potentially next week, having the two of you just have maybe a little back and forth. We'll see. Or if you're talking now, please message me back if you have a different subject you would like to say a few words to. Are you, I don't know which one of you is the Christian or pagan. I love every one of you who serve White Wellbeing. You could wear a weird costume from some bizarre, ancient sect of whatever. As long as you're willing to work with the rest of us, then for White Wellbeing, you're welcome to be here. So let me quickly check some of these comments. Reptile writing here, heroism isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what is necessary even when you're absolutely terrified. Precisely. That is beautifully said. You have to decide to be brave. Shauna Shaw writing earlier, that is so true, Jason. I'm glad you brought this up. Not sure what that was in reference to, but thank you for the support. I see eternalism in here. Is it Nordic Nightmare's birthday? I thought I saw a happy birthday to somebody. Happy birthday to that person. Let me slide through here. I never hear about atheists in our circles. Only Christians and pagans. Isn't strange, White Guilt. Maybe atheists don't care about our people. It's true. There are very, very few atheists in service to White Wellbeing or in general in the white positive sphere. It just, they end up in service incorrectly to themselves. And then they put a veneer, a patina of concern for others. And that's why going free is objectionable to them. Kind of weed them out. We weed out a lot of people here. And that's why I say you all are the AP. We go further. We glean the healthiest, the brightest, the most determined individuals, the true of heart individuals, those who can actually hear the voice of the West when he speaks to us. Those are a special kind of people, and we don't end up seeing many of them, or as many as we do in other circles, because other circles, you just have the general population there. And rest assured, though, those folks are better than the general population of folks who are involved in politics. So we really are the creme de la creme. Bane is a comic. Bane in the comics is both smart and strong, writes Blonde Tiger. Unlike the movies where he's a musclehead. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't see either. So then that's quite a compliment. Thank you for that then. Maybe I'll have to get me a Bane mask. Blonde Tiger says, I knew it. Jason drinks gasoline. And I play that Metallica song, Fuel, while I do it. Okay, Roy is saying here, it looks like our brother Nordic Nightmare's birthday now. Let's wish him a happy birthday. Happy birthday to you, dear brother. That had flew by in the chat, and I thought I read that right. I'm not a speed reader by any means, ladies and gentlemen. I'm extraordinarily, when it comes to speed reading, average. Or when it comes to reading, I guess. Promethean Promulgation, FYI, I don't attend any groups. But when talking to Christians, the phrase tentatively pagan is a good jumping off point to get in White Wellbeing. Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I have been contacted by people in different pagan spheres and different sects of Christianity, all having success spreading, going free, all having like a Greek American wrote here, sharing the material with their mother, sharing the material with a family member, a friend, and having shared material from elsewhere in the past. And maybe the person is revolted. Maybe the person says, well, there's some truth to that. But then they never follow up with it. There's nothing more to go with. They're saying, well, yeah, that statistic is true, but, and then no more. Now they share something from going free, and then the person says, yeah, that's true. And then they want to hear more, and then they want to move on more. So thank you very much for sharing all of those testimonials. And thank you all if you have been talking about what we refer to as the event horizon, the moment when all of these different groups to various degrees, these victim groups, these non-white, anti-white groups, when they begin looking at each other as the primary competition to their group's well-being and therefore individual well-being, that is brewing up right now during this big context shift in society. This is what we've been talking about. And this is something that you can't see beyond. It is going to offer us when it happens, the opportunities are unfathomable. And if we don't take advantage, if we are unable to take advantage because not enough of us are going free, then that's going to be it. That'll be it for Western kind. So we need to grow like there's no tomorrow. Nordic Nightmare thanking me for wishing him a happy birthday. You are most welcome. Miss Jess Horst is here. Great to see you, dear lady. You see, I'm getting a bit of my voice back because of the gasoline. The pollen has been washed away to a certain degree. Thank you, Siva, for sharing. My handle on Skype. Raymond says, I have done that with my youngest after I heard you say it a long time ago. I presume Ray is talking about using the pictures and and making an ugly face with something that is ugly. And let's see, done that with my youngest after I heard you say it a long time ago. And of course, the opposite, a happy face when it's something that is you want to promote. Now he automatically makes those faces and wants to change whatever it is. Thank you. God damn, Raymond. Thank you for that testimony. Thank you so much, brother. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Raymond saying, I have done that with my youngest after I heard you say it a long time ago. Now he automatically makes those faces and wants to change whatever it is. Thank you. You are most welcome. And thank you for sharing that testimonial, my friend, because a great many folks now, mothers and fathers out there, are going to do the same with their children after hearing it work for you and yours. And these children are going to have a fundamental shift when the anti-whites put this white erasure in their face, this biological white erasure in their face. They are going to feel that it is objectionable from a gut instinctive level because of that. Think about the power of that. I don't think I have to tell anybody that you're not going to find that kind of power elsewhere. And that is what we are doing here. So let's keep rolling because we got to wrap this up. And we'll take another call and we'll see how long that one is. And then maybe another or not. If I miss anybody, we'll go back. We will have you first next week. Underhill says, Jason has a gen-hanced voice box. What does that mean? I hope it's good. If it's not, then I need to know the joke so I can laugh. Underhill says, Jason, clapping for Jason for his practical advice. Thank you so much. Underhill, everybody, we give practical advice here. Anything that works, we immediately adopt it. And where we can remember who originally came up with it, we continually recognize and celebrate those people. Underhill among many great contributors. Southern Nordic is here. Great to see you. Raymond Foster says, someone clip this. Eternalism says, girl is given PC doll, girl cries. Seaver says, giving my name again there for Skype. Machiavelli is here. Hello, dear lady. So powerful. Our babies are the future, writes Raymond Foster. Thank you very much for that. I tell you, one thing that's empowering people is the great music of people like Eminent Rain. He's making an entire album, a genius tier music for Prometheus Rising. And we're going to be debuting some more of his work, brand new piece, when we release very soon here, the standalone version of Prometheus Rising. to empower our people. Thank you, Eminent Rain, for all that you're doing. Angharad Celtic is here. Great to see you, dear lady. Johnny Bump is here. I think, Eminent Rain, didn't you have a question that you wanted to ask during this week, or am I wrong? All right, let's see. I think we got everything there. Let me check over here, and then we will come back for, of course, we're going to have one of those issues where I have to get on the phone to be able to, I guess at least Cash App is still working. Oh, it looks like I have some messages from another participant. I don't know what this means. If you messaged me and you're talking about tracking, what does that mean exactly? So please get back to me if you're talking about something being tracked on Twitter. And I'll bring that to folks' attention. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and jump over here, and I will figure out one way or another how to authorize. There must be some easy way. Here we go. Okay. So we are authorizing, so I can read what is here. And over here on Cash App, we'll see if it'll work now. And then we're going to get back to the calls, and we're going to wrap this up. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a fantastic time going free with you all. Okay, this is from Go Lightly Mama. Go Lightly Mama. Wonderful avatar, very pretty lady, and financially gifting $25 and writing here for NWG. Thank you so very much for that, dear lady. That's definitely, I have not seen that name before, so it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, and I hope that if you're new to Going Free, that you come in here with full force, and if you are indeed a mama, inoculate those children against anti-whiteism and empower them for the future. We're going to need to protect them, and they will in turn protect us. So we become powerful by empowering each other. Thank you so much. All right. So I think that is your first. Let's get a round of applause, since that's Go Lightly Mama's first. If you ever are financially gifting for the first time, let me know, and we will make sure to get you a round of applause. So please, if we could get some folks, some raucous emojis for Go Lightly Mama. Thank you so much, dear lady. Let's see what's over here on what did Spencer have to say? Spencer said, oh, he would like to talk this week rather than next. General topic. Okay. All right. We're going to call Spencer's thoughts. If you can get ready for our call, we're going to call you, and we will briefly speak with you. I think we are, where are we roughly on here? I think we're nearing 3 hours. We wanted to be wrapped up by 2. And so let's get a call out to you. Here comes the call. Hello, brother. How are you?
I am doing excellent, Jason. How about yourself?
Great. Now, I think I missed. Absolutely, man. I missed. What name do you want to be called?
You can just go with Spencer.
Spencer. All right, Spencer. And you're doing well. That's great to hear. Now, you are a regular, and we really appreciate your service to White Wellbeing. So thank you so very much for your participation and service.
I appreciate yours as well. Yours is excellent quality to our people. Solid work, like really solid work. Now, so my call has two parts to it. First of all, I'm looking forward to my next week's call-in. I hope to have a discussion with Imminent. We're going to have an email conversation this week, actually, and I hope that next week, to use your analogy, it's not going to be a case of us discussing the legal system for the Alamo. It's us going to be discussing how two people who disagree on the legal system after the Alamo can agree on the need to fight the same battle, if you get what I mean.
Yes.
Now, the second part of my call, I guess, is more related to the aspect of the lexicon and dialectic specifically. So I noticed those are mentioned quite a bit.
Yes.
Now, the thing that I don't quite see you mention as much, that I think is equally, if not more important, is the theme that comes from those. Because understanding lexicon and dialectics can be done simply by reading books. But to understand the theme is to understand the underlying message. And when you do that, you can learn how to use the lexicon and dialectics as effectively as possible. I'll give you an example of this. In my own personal life, I've had situations wherein I'm interacting with people who don't or will not be receptive to the lexicon and dialectics. However, I can use the theme to say to them that, no, you do have people who care about you that you don't know about, that you may never know about, but they still care about you. And I can impress this on them thoroughly in order to get them out of the state of mind they're in. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely.
So in that regard, I think the emphasis on the theme has to be there as well. It's not just knowing how to say the words. It's not just knowing what words to say. It's understanding how to say them, when to say them, and when to implement them. Can you speak to that for general use for the population?
Well, it depends on what specific circumstance or general circumstance that you're talking about.
I suppose I'm referring to a circumstance wherein you have an individual in a bad place. You've got someone who's in a bad spot with a big problem, who doesn't understand necessarily why they want to live anymore, what they want to live for, yet you can then explain to them that, no, there's a group of us out there who still care about you. Do you get what I mean?
Absolutely. And there have been more than a few cases of people who have been in a very bad place when they came across going free, and they changed course as a consequence, and they're getting better and better. So,
for sure. I know of one of them very clearly, if you remember my original super chat to you.
I do indeed, good sir. I do indeed. So yeah, you're absolutely deeply already knowledgeable and connected to that, and we are extremely grateful. When one of our brothers or sisters is in one of these really dark places, they don't think life is worth living, and increasingly right now, and the question is really pertinent and well timed. So Spencer, thank you very much for that. With everybody getting fired right now, with people afraid of COVID-19, people getting sick with COVID-19, and their loved ones getting sick with it, they are descending into very dark places. People don't know, or people have long since forgotten how to get along with each other. So they're suddenly thrust into each other's midst. They can't escape. They're talking about this like, I need to be able to get away. No, you're missing something. You're sick. And that's why you can't be in the presence of those you love. You can't be in the presence of other of our brothers and sisters out there. And they're descending into this darkness. When you come upon one of our brothers and sisters when they're in this place, the two things that they really have to know about, Spencer and everybody, is number one, that there is a large and growing community, just as you said, who cares about them individually. They're not just a social security number. They're not just somebody who gets a phone call from the Republican or Democrat Party when a vote is up. They're not just somebody who's contacted when a donation is wanted from some egoist in the white positive sphere or elsewhere. There's a specific group of people that cares about them, and this is where the connection is. Tapping into who and what they really are. That it's the alienation of who and what they really are from themselves that is causing this deep pain inside of them. And that by addressing the cause of this alienation, which is born of these mean pathogens inside of them, and these symptoms are called white noir. This is not just depression. This is not just some other term, and they're not just some drug that. And now, mind you, ladies and gentlemen, if a doctor has you on a drug, do not just abruptly stop using it. But you can say this to folks who are using drugs like psychotropics for depression, etc., that we have received emails and letters of people who have been getting off or using smaller doses. They've conferred with their doctors. They said, doctor, I think I can use less of this now. And they're winnowing back on their dosages. You can tell these people who are in this dark place that they have something inside of them that they have been estranged from, something glorious, something beautiful, and that they can tap into that beauty and glory by way of this community who will care about them as an individual, that we are all redeeming ourselves, that we all have things that we've done wrong, embarrassed of, ashamed of, or whatever it is, but that we are all moving toward that mountaintop. And that this truth about who and what we are as Westmen, once renewed, once discovered, once we begin to tap as individuals and as a community into this, once again, we are reborn. And that is something that someone in that position, in these doldrums, in that misery, that is exactly what they need to hear. They think that they're up against those walls of life, the end of it all. They think they're up against the end of it all. And in reality, there is this gleaming polar star, this North Star that they can begin moving toward. And every single step they take toward that star, their environment gets brighter with it. It illuminates more and more of the richness that is running in their veins. We are a glorious and heroic people. As we've said many times, the great genius, the great artists, the great warriors, the great healers, all of that is in our veins. All of that suffering that they're experiencing, not one modicum of pain is from a source other than anti-whiteism. Their pain for the job they can't get, for the love they didn't find, for the relationships that they can't maintain, for something inside themselves that makes them abusive toward others, so they're driving them off. This comes from anti-whiteism. When they learn that these things have a source and that they can begin treating this, they then have something that they can work toward. And this also, that we recognize in the white positive sphere and going free, that there isn't a one and done, that you're not going to say, flip this switch, and now you're suddenly on that escalator toward the mountain's top. No, we know that we're actually hoofing it up the mountain, and that there are going to be times when the rock is loose and we're going to slide back some. We recognize that we're all going to be making these mistakes, but that we keep moving forward, and we are going to be recognizing that person for his or her successes. They're not going to be alone. They're not going to be ignored anymore. We don't do that here. There is no hyper-individualism. There is no this cult of the individual that we see across the West. This is a mean pathogen. We are going to throw arms around every one of those people and move forward. So this is what I would say that anybody in that situation needs to hear, and they need to be able to appreciate in order to take that next step in healing.
That is beautifully said, brother. Beautifully said. I couldn't have put it half as eloquently. To state specifically, the things that I got from that were that it's very important for all of us to remember that, as the saying goes, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. Mm-hmm. And with every step you take, you do get closer to that pinnacle. And there are those of us who are further along the journey than others. There are those of us who are 1,000 steps in, 1,000,000 steps in. You might take 10 steps a day. You might take 5 steps a day. It really doesn't matter as long as you are taking steps progressively along that journey, no matter how hard it may be. But in terms of speaking to those of our brothers and sisters who are in difficult situations, I couldn't have put it better. That was a beautiful speech, as you are very apt to give. I guess my question to you then, to to end the call, I suppose, is what advice do you have for our brothers and sisters in situations wherein they've started making the journey, they've gone along the journey, but they feel they're plateauing? You know how when you work out, eventually you hit a plateau, you don't understand, and you can't get past that. What do you say to those who feel like they've gone down the road, but they should be going further and they can't seem to get there?
Well, that is a fantastic question. And thank you, Spencer. Thank you so much for everything you're doing, your service to White Wellbeing, and both of these questions, because both of them are the kinds of things that people need to hear. People are suffering. And they have folks in their lives that are potentially on that path of the ultimate white flight of suicide, and folks who are plateauing. So I will. I'll thank you now, and I'll let you go, and I'll answer that question. And please call back. We'll have you back for more calls in the future, because you are a great participant, and you've done so much, and we salute you for all of that.
I'm certainly looking forward to it, brother. It's been my honor to be on the call with you and to hear from you personally. It's kind of refreshing, actually, to have some human contact during this quarantine.
Yes.
It has been my honor to speak to you and your audience. I look forward to calling back next week. Shout out to two people specifically, Imminent Rain, for discussing the whole religion thing in chat with me. Sometimes mods have been a little honest about that, but we've kept it civil. We've played games, and I hope to continue that next week. We actually have an email conversation scheduled for this week, so I'm looking forward to that with him.
Great.
And also I want to shout out Jared George.
Ah.
He did brilliantly on Red Ice on Friday.
Yes, he did.
Some of the chat was giving him hell for it, but I was there to keep him safe. So shout out to Jared George. Brilliant job on Red Ice with Heinrich. And yeah, other than that, it's been my honor to be on the call with you, brother. And I hope you have a good night, and I will be looking forward to the rest of the stream.
Great. Thank you, brother. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, wasn't that fantastic hearing from Spencer's thoughts? Like I said, a great participant. And I'm going to be answering this question about plateauing, because it's true. And I think what we'll do is, I think we're coming up to the 3-hour mark and about 5.5 more minutes, and we'll make sure we end there. I think that's fair enough. We're covering some good ground. I have some great community comments that I want to speak to. Actually, let's get a round of applause for, do I have it here? Stephen. I don't think I have it here, darn. But Stephen sent a financial gift to White Wellbeing in the mail of $15. Thank you much, my dear friend. And I will mention those, ladies and gentlemen. If you send a financial gift, unless you don't want it to be mentioned, let me know. But if you send a financial gift by way of land mail to the P.O. Box, I will mention it here on air with everyone, and get you the gratitude that you rightly deserve for financially gifting the work that we are doing for White Wellbeing. And let's see here. Interestingly, we keep losing some screens here. I don't know why that is, but we'll figure it out next time exactly what's going on. Let me try entropy. Okay, entropy looks good. We're all caught up there. And let me go back over here to Cash App. We'll talk about plateauing. So what I think I will do is we have some great comments from folks who wrote back to Althea Promethea and on Twitter. She's been posting. Big round of applause for her and the work that she's doing in service to White Wellbeing. She's been tweeting little excerpts from my writing, and some folks have written her back with some testimonials, and we want to make sure to read those. And we have some other testimonials that I want to make sure to read. We'll get those next week and make sure we get to some more of the material. Don't want to leave anybody out. Yeah, so I did mention Stevens, but I think Stevens had a letter. Maybe I'll have that next time, what he wrote. Otherwise, I think we have covered most of the things here. And I did want to mention this when I was talking about the conspiracy theorist mindset. You don't want to end up like that idiot who tried to floor his train into the ship in the harbor. What was it, down in Louisiana? And try to kill everybody there because you get so fixated on an idea that makes you feel like it's right. Everything's clicked into place for them. And that's where you see this fanaticism, this lunacy from in these people. These feelings. You don't want to end up like somebody like that. So I think we are zeroed out over on Cash App as well. Let me take a quick look through the live chat here on, looks like Greek American. Writes over here on the gardening channel. And remember, folks, if you have been trying to write me on the gardening channel and I have not spoken to what you wrote, I'm just not seeing it because you didn't tag me as gardening with NWG. So I'm not ignoring you. Greek American writes here, my mom also pointed out the anti-white narrative of biracial relationships in ads too. Yeah, always well done to your mother. See, catching right on. And remember that when we see these kinds of advertisements, you want to immediately say white erasure. That's biological white erasure. There they go again, promoting white erasure, because you will absolutely hold the moral high ground by taking that position. There is nothing moral about promoting the erasure of a people who have these recessive genes, and when they reproduce with peoples of other races, they are erased, they cease to exist. There's nothing moral about that. No one in your environment can try to claim the moral high ground when you take that position. You know they wouldn't say that for any other race of people. And so you will win every single one of those conversations. Now, if you get up against an anti-white and they say, it's a good thing, just say, thank you, have a nice day, and get on to somebody who can hear what you have to say. Justin Lee says, don't forget D-Live donations. I'll have to open that screen, brother. Andre says, how to get baby sister to love her blue-eyed. Is this a doll? How to get baby sister, or she has blue eyes and she doesn't cherish her blue eyes? I would start off just very briefly by pointing out that the spirit of the West, we never bind his hands. He makes us in a great many hues, different eye colors. All are beautiful. All are magnificent. So you start off that way, so that whatever way that the spirit of the West has brought her forth into the world is gorgeous. It's beautiful, whatever it is. Does she have a wide rear? Does she have a narrow rear? Whatever she is gorgeous. The spirit of the West never makes a mistake. And so if she has blue eyes, though, and she doesn't like her blue eyes, boy, isn't that a symptom of anti-whiteism? Isn't that an absolute symptom of anti-whiteism, that she has these wonderful blue eyes, and yet she isn't proud of them? So it depends on her age and where you go with it. If she's very young, you can very easily point out different folks, different white people that have blue eyes and how beautiful they are, but point out, some of the other colors and hues as well. If she's very young, buy her a little doll with beautiful blue eyes, and always refer to them that way, beautiful blue eyes. And how sick this is that that is child abuse in the extreme. Underhill just wrote psychological abuse. It is absolute, the depths of depravity that they would teach our children such things. Damn well and good anti-whites would never tolerate that. Damn well and good, just say to anybody out there, would it be okay to teach that nappy hair is ugly? That has never been taught, and is certainly not being taught anywhere today. And I'm definitely not saying that it's ugly, but how evil would it be to teach non-white children, particularly those with nappy hair, that nappy hair is ugly? It would be evil. And by the way, note this when you talk to folks, and I know we got to wrap it up. There's so much to say, but nobody is saying in the media, or what this little girl might be seeing, nobody is saying, okay, children, blue eyes are awful. Blue eyes are evil. They're not saying that openly. That little girl is picking up that blue eyes are awful by the meme pathogens. The bad guys have blue eyes. The bad, dumb people have blue eyes. Note that. Reflect on that. If she's figuring that out from the zeitgeist of the day, that means these are meme pathogens that she's being infected with, and she's coming to the only conclusion, the anti-whites want her to come to. And then how will she escape those blue eyes? Well, there's a group of people out there that only in very rare situations where there are crosses have blue eyes, and that's non-white people. And she might go try to submerge herself in that group, the non-white people of the world, to escape those blue eyes that she hates, to escape that people that she hates. So intervene now, my friend. Let me keep going. I wish we could go on and on, but I got to think about my mods. I got to think about everybody. So thank you for that question. Looks like we're good here. And I think Go Lightly Mama has financially gifted another $25. Let's get her. She is jumping in both feet on Entropy. Let's continue the round of applause for Go Lightly Mama on Entropy. Thank you so much. Writing NWG. Thank you, dear lady. That is splendid. We also have the great Irish Ice, who also has this amazing ability to find leaflets and stickers and things all over the place. What a hero, Irish Ice. Financially gifting $5. Hats off to you. Writing all Europe's cultures coming together to create a new one is called an ultra culture. This is a great MC for the MP. White America has no culture. Ah, beautiful. I choose a white America. I choose white people. Let's all reach and teach our people KIP. Absolutely. Thank you so much for kipping, my brother. That's absolutely fantastic. Keeping it Promethean. That's what we mean when we say KIP. And if you want to learn what that is, acquire Go Free, and you'll find out what it means to behave like a Promethean. You can also acquire Prometheus Rising, which will be out very soon as a standalone volume. Had help there in the standalone volume. It's going to be much more readable. Folks more educated and smarter than me have taken a look at it. It'll be easier to read. So God bless them, and a big round of applause for those folks. And it looks like Mark has come back again with another $5 hopping. And writing here, sorry to bring up the negativity before. No, brother, don't feel sorry. That's fantastic that you would let us know. No, you've done nothing wrong, please. That's fantastic that you would let us know what others are saying. We need to contrast the errors with the successes. What's wrong with what's right. So it's splendid that you did that. Absolutely, you've done nothing wrong. And then he writes here, but this time is consistent with paleoconservatives, or this theme is consistent with paleoconservatives like Pat Buchanan. He wrote The Death of the West. Are you a fan of his? No, I'm not. And I don't like these objectionable, I mean, there are certainly things that he's said, certainly actions that he has taken that I support and endorse. Wherever an individual takes actions or shares ideas or thoughts that support white well-being, I support those things as long as they're in keeping with my morality. And I support that individual in those cases. When they say something that is contradictory, when they say, oh, well, all is coming to a fiery end, they couldn't possibly know that. They could not. They are as ignorant of the end as are a person who's Pollyannish and saying, oh, well, it's just a perfect, it's just tomorrow we'll have a bed of roses if we just run a politician. Both groups of people are equally wrong. We are in the midst of a metaphorical war. We have no idea what tomorrow looks like. We know that there are going to be societal shifts, context shifts in society, and we need to be prepared to take advantage of those. That's why we are going free and helping everybody around us to go free. And I want to make sure, and thank you very much for getting back to me, Mark, with that financial gift and that question. Yes, let's stay away from everything that is objectionable, everything that is negative. Reject whole cloth, turn away from it, turn your back on it, and move to things that are productive. That is how, look, we built the West. We have built the modern world. Let's get to work. They didn't look out. Our ancestors didn't look out at the fields in Europe and say, well, there aren't any cathedrals, there aren't any crops, there are these hostile anti-white, non-white hordes coming in. They want to kill and rape every one of us. You know, it's just doom and gloom. We might as well just give up. They didn't do that. They rolled up their sleeves. And I don't know, maybe it's part of also being an American, because in America is where our race, our people have the most recently rolled up their sleeves and said, let's build a civilization. And we did it in a grand way. So maybe it's part of that. But we, as Western kind, we roll up our sleeves and we get to work. Anybody who wants to say, let me tell you all of the things that are terrible in the world, they're not the folks who you want to be listening to. So what happens when it comes to plateauing? Just like working out, let me pull up DLive when I'm talking about that. Just like working out, you plateau at some point. And what that means, hold on, this might give me sound. It is. So let me just do that. Hopefully that will stay silent. When you're working out, if you have worked out, you will realize that you will have gains, and then you'll suddenly have these plateaus where no more gains are happening. And there are reasons for that, and we can talk about that because we want you to be in better physical condition, better physical shape as well, as we strive for white well-being. And thank you all, by the way, for all of these great messages that are pouring in. Man, just what a great community we are just building here. But the same thing will happen when you're going free. So the biggest, I guess, change is between 0 and 1, right? So if you are a giant, if we liken this to being a slob, you're just a big giant ball of goo, and you've never worked out and you don't eat right. As soon as you change your diet a little bit, as soon as you get on the treadmill and do the tiniest bit of workout, you are going to see a difference. You're going to look in the mirror, you're going to say, oh my God, I can see it. But then as you continue to dig, going from 1 to 2, yes, you've improved, but now it doesn't seem as obvious. So part of this, especially when it comes to going free, is perception. So going from 0, nothing, to 1 is enormous, because you see from night to day change. Going from 1 to 2 is improvement that is equal in size, but not as obvious, because you're not going from nothing anymore. You're going from something 1 click up. So part of this in a big way is perception. You have to say, okay, where was I 2 months ago when I started? Where was I 6 months ago? What would I have thought given this circumstance in the past? And juxtapose that to how you deal with it today, how you interpret it today, how you share and help others go free today. The other thing to do is you double down. You say, all right, well, I have identified, let me tell you what, if you have identified 20 MPs and you've been addressing those, and you think that this is the extent of going free and you're making the gains you need to be making, you've got another thing coming. You'll realize that when you really dig down, if you double down again, you won't find double that sum. You'll find triple, quadruple that sum. Turn on the TV. Turn on a movie that you watched in the past and you saw nothing. You didn't know of any MPs. You have plenty of time to do that now. Sit down, give yourself an exercise to do. And this is exercise in more than one way here. And look for the MPs in that movie, your childhood favorite movie that you didn't realize there were any MPs in. Go back now and see the world anew. This will help to kickstart your ability to see those MPs in the real world. I started off the show today, or in the rest of the world today, the modern world, I should say. I started off the show today talking about an MP in the Matrix movie. This is the first one. And it's appears to be the white male receiving wisdom from a white child. This is an MP because it draws this division between parent and child, so that white parent cannot yield wisdom, cannot give wisdom, must not give wisdom to the children. In fact, somehow they magically have wisdom. Where are they getting their ideas from, ladies and gentlemen? They're getting them from the anti-whites. Most of you, many of you perhaps, have never thought about that MP, even those who are going free. And now you're saying, oh my God, that is absolutely true. And that is everywhere. Haven't thought about that before. You need to be finding these things in your lives. You need to be dissecting them, and you need to be, as we said at the very beginning of this show, CCDing every single one. Confront, challenge, and dispel. If you have the workbook of Go Free, whether physically or digitally, same thing, second edition, iteration 1, you can look up again exactly what it means to CCD, literally CCD these things. This is not just a suggestion. This happens automatically for you once you put these counter triggers in place. That's how you know you're getting better. When you see these things, here's one of the hallmarks. When you see a mean pathogen out in the world and you immediately go, oh, no, and your mind is blank, you're losing. You need to see an MP in space, in environment, or have it pass through your mind as a thought that then is triggered in your subconscious mind that you immediately have a triggered response for. No, diversity is not strength. Diversity is dyssynergistic. Diversity is death. This instantly happens in your mind when you see these MPs. You don't want to say, oh, no, it's wrong, and have a blank mind while you're saying that, because you're losing if you're in that state. You're feeling immoral if you're in that state. You're feeling like you're losing if you're in that state. So if you are plateauing, you, just as in the physical workout, you change the workout up a little bit. When you're going free and you're plateauing, you change your Go Free workout up a little bit. Find one of those old movies, find one of those old TV shows, watch it anew with brand new eyes. Point out all of those MPs, find them in the movie, find them in your thoughts, find them in yourself, find them in family members, and then you'll begin seeing it all anew in the world around you. And again, your mind has to have that triggered thought as soon as you see these MPs in the real world to know that you're finally going free of these things. You're not going free of them if you stumble through a response. You will stumble through. CCDing at first is stumbling through. That's what it is. But once it happens instantaneously, then you're going free. So let's see. We have Justin Lee said, and we'll get the final remainder of these, and then we're going to wrap it up, and that'll be it tonight. We have lemons and ice cream cones, all these different points, Leno points over here. What is this? Philosopher with ice cream cones and lemons. Thank you all much. Random with lemon points. Flynn Photo with lemon points. And random. Lots of, a diamond from Philosopher over here on the D Live. And just donate a diamond. You all will have to help me interpret these things as because I really don't know how to operate. And I don't believe, regrettably, Justin, since I didn't have it open, I don't have that list of all of the things that people wrote. So I'll have to look at that next time. I can just see people here. Dummy, 100 Leno points. Thank you very much. Random 7, 36, Flynn Photo, 34, Cowboy 7, Roy Danton 5. Oops. See, it just closed on me. I don't even know why. Let me see. Kite. I'm not going to read that. 1 Leno point. Crazy Smoking Monk. Thank you very much. 3 points. I think that might be, is that the people, everybody who has donated? I opened the chest up and somebody received their points. Regrettably, I don't have, if anybody has questions over there, I don't see where those are. So we'll look for them next time. I apologize. Remember that you can always use the question widget on Entropy as well if you want to make sure I see those questions. And you can also get them onto the live chats. I will quickly run through the live chat on No Why Guilt, as the gardening one looks blank. And take another look at, thank you everyone who gave Leno points. It looks like we just had Tall Kevin financially give $3. Thank you, dear brother. And writing here, gratitude for the advice before. The Spirit of the West put us all listening to this at this exact point for a reason. We are on this earth for a reason. Everyone listen. Let's fulfill our destiny. Extremely wise words, brother. Thank you so much for that. Those words are worth $3 million. Thank you very much for that $3 financial gift and those powerful words. And okay, we're blank over here. Let me roll through. And somebody's saying about there are white Iranians, I think. Angharad Celtic saying, I just sent Jason an invitation on Skype. We will get to you next Sunday, dear lady. Please, thank you for being here. Please come back. We'll make sure we talk to you and whoever else wrote in first next week. And I see, let me move through this. So keep whatever your topic is on mind. It has been a great stream. Simon JJ says, that's an excellent idea. Viewing old movies for MPs during lockdown. Yeah, and write them down, write those MPs down, and then share them when we get together. Share them in other live chats and tell folks, hey, let me tell you about what an MP is. And here was one in a movie I watched. Greek-American Elizabeth Warren is so anti-white, she celebrated when finding out there was Native American Indian DNA of a grand total of 1%. She now considered to be a person of color. Yes, wild lady. She is a great demonstration and a great fact that we can use to show that there is a benefit to being non-white and a detriment to being white in Western civilization. There is no such thing. If there were a benefit to being white, if there was any white privilege or any of these, that's a mean pathogen. If there was any of that, people who had any white in them would be fighting to be listed as white. They would all be fighting for it, but none of them are. If they can fake that they have any non-white in them, that's what they're saying. If they have 1% of non-white, they're saying they're non-white. The reason why they're saying is because all of the benefits accrue to those who are non-white. They are revealing the truth with that. Make sure you share that. Angharad Celtic says, I'll call on Skype next week. I figured out how. Excellent. Well, you're right. You will write. You'll put the name you want to be called in the message, and then I will call you back. So make sure you write me, and we'll be able to get to you. It looks like we have everybody. Thank you all very much. It's been another magnificent opportunity to go free here today, ladies and gentlemen. To recap, make sure you understand what it means when a person who has a conspiracy theorist mindset, what you experienced today when you felt that click, everything suddenly made, it makes sense. Something goes together and you receive that sensation that you've accomplished something by doing so. That sensation is not truth. That sensation is not proof. That sensation is not validation. It is just a sensation that you get when things click together, whether they're true or not. There are many types of mathematical formulas out there that speak to nothing in the real world. And such is the case with jokes. Such is the case with bizarre conspiracy theories. Make sure that when we talk to our brothers and sisters out there, that we remember verisimilitude, that if something doesn't have a ring of truth, it doesn't even matter if it's true. Let's talk about people losing their jobs. Let's talk about industries crashing. Let's talk about the disease for the real level that it is represented, for the real lives that are being lost, for the real lives that are being ruined, amputations, heart damage, lung damage that lasts for people's life, the damage that we still don't know about, that we'll be learning about 6 months from now, 1 year from now, after people have recovered from this disease. Let's talk about these things for the way they really are, and let's pin all of the blame where it goes, and that is directly on the anti-whites. If we controlled our destiny, none of these people would be suffering. Ladies and gentlemen, I love every single one of you. Let's remember to always kip and always go free. Bye-bye.